they've come, they've done the work, but the workmen haven't put it back as there's a certain word that they use, which means my understanding is if it's a cupboard that was there and they've done some work behind the cupboard and they pulled it out, they need to put it back as it was. What's that saying they use in the terminology?
I can't recall, but I do understand what you're saying. And I'm trying to think of the word now because I've used it just a few days ago when writing correspondence. But the position with that is, have you actually, I don't know if you're actually asking this question for yourself, but the first port of call would be to go to the landlord, communicate with them and say, this is the situation. They've come here, they've done this work, however, they've not put it back in the state it was in originally. If they resolve it, then obviously that's good. If they don't, then you could get somebody to write a more stronger letter to them, because the position is that they need to put it back. They need to rectify any damage that they've caused.
But tell me something, if you find that a landlord is very difficult and don't want to communicate, he's very ignorant and what and so forth, what does one do in that situation?
I normally find that a good strong letter to them gets them corresponding with you quite quickly.
Okay.
So if you undertake doing the work after they've done it and they haven't done it and they've come twice or 3 times, would you be able to present your landlords with the bill if you've rectified that whole area that they didn't do?
If you're talking about a private landlord, you'll have to pursue it. But if you're talking about social landlords, it's always best to obtain their permission first. Because I've had instances where they've attended, they haven't carried out the work correctly and it needed to be done. So the tenant has had to have done it themselves. But they normally obtain permission first. I know it seems weird that you have to obtain permission, but the only reason you obtain permission first is to ensure that you have the money reimbursed. Alternatively, you take photos of each stage, i.e. before the work was done, when it was done, and when you've paid for it to be done, and provide them with the bill and send that to them with a letter.
And one more question. Why is it I've noticed these days that landlords are quick to put tenants out knowing the situation or what the economic situation that's happening with our pay not rising as fast as the climate for what is that word? The climate, our wage not rising as quick as everything else is rising. So the landlords, because I've noticed quite a few people are saying, oh, well, it's only like a month or 2 months and I'm being evicted, or they want to evict me. Can they do that? Do they have the right to do that?
Yes, the short answer is yes. The procedure is if you're in more than 2 months arrears or 8 weeks arrears, then you can be taken to court for possession. You're asking why are they doing it, and you've obviously spoken about the social and pay as it is at the moment, like pay is not covering your rent, but the reason they're doing it is because obviously either they want the property back or they want to let for a higher rate of rent.
Oh, okay, my sister, you open up some cans of worms, you know what I mean? And you're asking the appropriate question, because the question you're asking, people there probably want to ask the same question as well, you know? And it is a challenge, you know what I mean? And as the sister said, that, you know, you really got to look at both fence here, you know, because yes, some landlords are scumbags, right? And you have some tenants who are total scumbags as well, you see? So you do have to look at the both fence, you know, because you have some landlord, they don't care, you know what I mean? As far as concerned, they don't business about your situation. Come out them place, you know. There's no humanity, and you have your picnic and the children, and you have some tenants who, you know, abuse the place and abuse the whatever, and they deserve to come out. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to look at each case, but it is a challenge. It is a challenge. So listen, my sister, we need to feel free to phone in a little bit later on. right? Because we do have Jamus, Siayome, Regional Supreme, and Patrick Side the host. Still, see? So we're going to talk about the event, and we're going to talk about high level of consciousness and spirituality and world affairs. See?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll continue listening.
All right then. Nice one. Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks. All right. So, my sis, we want to put a pin with you right now because we don't want to burn out all your juices out now, you know what I mean? Because, you know, so you have some power and you start give us some. So give us your number once more again, my sister, please, or contact details or your website or your email address.
Okay, my name's Walata. The firm is Atalor Solicitors. The telephone number is 0203 581 9293.
Say it again one more time, please.
0203 581 9293. I have a Facebook page, Atalor Solicitors. You can Twitter, Atalor Solicitors also, or my email is Walata, WALATA, at Atalor, ATALAW, solicitors.com.
Okay then. So what's going to happen when the sisters do come again in the next 2 or 3 weeks' time? But what we're going to do, we're going to make it a way where if you have a specific case, right, you just phone in and we try to answer that specific case so we have an idea. See? So we're going to make it quite specific, yeah? And so forth, you know? And she doesn't come in, she won't be coming physically here, but what she can do is also phone in on a regular basis just to keep us informed and keep us in touch. And she, like I said, she'll be working quite closely with the Find a Voice organization. See? And so forth. So my sister,
thank you so much for having me. It's been a
thank
pleasure.
you. Big up your king man. You never bring him up yet?
Yes, I hope he's listening. He might have fallen asleep by now, but yes.
Wait, we not sleep now. Where? You can't sleep on you now, man. What do you mean?
King Miles at home, yes.
Yeah, and your little one, you got you.
My 2 little ones definitely should be sleeping.
They
by
definitely
now.
should be sleeping.
Definitely, yes.
How you know they should be sleeping? They should be up listening to you, yeah?
No,
you don't want to listen to it?
not
Okay
at
then.
their age. So I can save that for another time.
Another time.
Yeah.
Okay then. My sister, again, we want to give thanks to you, yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
When I wake up, let me tell you straight up. All we do is make up to break up. Let me tell you straight up. I need you beside me when I wake up. Let me tell you straight up. I've made mistakes, but I'm never gonna make the same ones anymore. Never wanna see you hurt or feeling insecure. Although I gave you so many reasons to feel unsure. To separate is not the answer, neither the cure. No man can't put us under what you have in store. Just like your name, I'll be yours. And so much more to see you with someone else is something I just can't afford. All we do is make up to break up. We hardly even make love. I need you beside me when I wake up. Let me tell you straight up. All we do is make up to break up. Let me tell you straight up. I need you beside me when I wake up. Let me tell you straight up.
Flowers blooming in your eyes. I feel a breeze like spring. I'm so in love with you. I'm drifting in your skies of blue. So emotional, my heart, my mind not functional. And the right surrounds around me. That's how I know you're my destiny, girl. Now I know what love is. Feel it in your kisses. Girl, I'm insisting. For
say you me sadly miss. Me kick back on a reason.
Say thank you, thank you, thank you, 'cause I'm so grateful, oh grateful, I'm so grateful. So I wanna say thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Now thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. I wanna say thank you. Thank you. I wanna say thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wanna say thank you. I wanna say thank you. 'Cause I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So grateful. So grateful. So grateful. So grateful. I'm so grateful. So grateful. I wanna say thank you. I wanna say thank you. Just thank you. Thank you. I wanna say thank you. I wanna say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 'Cause I'm so grateful. Yeah. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I wanna just say thank you now. Just thank you now. 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 Each and every day I'm gonna say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world.
Okay then. So our queen just reached home safe now to your family, and what a beautiful presentation and she presented so far on SLR Radio. Really is a diamond among us. Okay then, inside the house we do have the great man Siayome inside the house. Also we have brother Patrick as well, Original Supreme, and also Jammers. And what we're going to do, a recap of the event, what took place Sunday just gone. So, as you know that, and Simon is a man who regular contribute to SLR Radio, regular to the Find Your Voice event, a man with deep insight. He's got many strings to it. You know, astrology is one of his discipline. Also, he was reading the other day, and he's a musician. In fact, he was telling me that he was on, you know, let people know, Top of the Pops. He was a very famous person. You know what I mean? You know. So, you know, this is someone, well, look at, we have status again inside us, you know, very deep in, when it comes to your thing about spirituality, your thing about vibration, and he's one that kind of taught me your thing about the soul, you know. So he'll be touching some of them subjects a little bit later, but what I want to do is just have him do a recap what took place Sunday and how did he felt the vibes and etc. So again, you know, Sam has a whole heap of power inside of you. So Sam, come through upon us.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Brother Dougie. I mean, you know, what do I say after that? Now I'm gonna have to come up, make sure I come correct, right? Yeah. Well, yes. Firstly, greetings to one and all who's listening, and yeah, and thank you, Dougie, for inviting me on your show. Now, the event on Sunday was quite interesting. I appreciated the event because of the fact of what was being talked about. I was glad that that level of discussion is beginning to actually take place amongst us as these labels. I'm getting really kind of, you know, these labels, what we call ourselves, you know, what we use. But it's good to see that, you know, the people of the sun, Nubian folk, black, if you want to say that, are actually coming out to listen to more of knowledge to do with consciousness, and actually interested to know what consciousness is, and the how words and language has been used to put spells on our own selves and others, and how it's important to have insight to the language that we use. There are electromagnetic tonal frequencies that every word has, as well as letters. Everything is energy. All is consciousness. It was good. I felt that Brother Jammer's presentation, it was good. It was informative to the people on the level that they needed to gain it on. Brother Ras McCoy, it's the topics that were being discussed. Mervyn, what he was talking about as motivation. I mean, given his stories, his experiences that helped him develop and grow as he is. And Brother Darrell, was it about the finance? I mean, I asked him a question that he didn't expect to ask anybody to ask him, but he answered it fine. It was enjoyable because, as I said, usually we're talking about things on what we call. We're talking about usually who's on our back now. We're usually talking about what hell we getting now, and it was refreshing to have a lot of people in the room ready to listen to more higher knowledge and information. There wasn't, I would say, enough time for some of the speakers to really get to the point that they were building up to. But that's what happens when you're trying to organize and keep everything concise, because, you got to be in there at a time, get out there at a time, everything. There is a system, there is a order to things. And, so because of that. So as my brief introduction to my rendition of how I experienced the evening, my reason for appreciating it was just for the basic fact that the type of information that was being presented in the same time, in the same space, and that people came to listen to that. I appreciated that, So, and I appreciated all the speakers.
Okay, I want to bring Patrick into the mix. How do you find the event went Sunday, my brother, as the PA man?
Okay, I'm a man of many guises and disguises. Okay, my tag name or hashtag, which is the biggest thing at the moment on the internet, you type in hashtag and it comes up. My hashtag is red5599.com or just red5599. On the Sunday, I actually supply the sound equipment, and that's also a service. It's called conference service. So whether you have a meeting or a party, I supply out of many services. That's one of the services, the conference service, microphones, etc. Sunday itself was very enlightening and a great experience. As my brother who was on the mic reminded me, he says, and what triggered in my mind is from each one of the speaker, whether it's a speaker as in a technical thing or a speaker as someone actually speaking, they actually transmit and we actually receive. And the funny thing is, deep in your ears there's something called an eardrum, and when the speaker speaks, the speaker vibrates and then it's transmitted through the air, and when it reaches your eardrums actually vibrate, and it's translated in an electrical signal, and it's translated by the mind into words, images and pictures. And if you were down on Sunday, we had various speakers who motivated you, to do better physically, mentally. We had people who spoke to you about finance, how to be better financially. We had a brother who spoke about consciousness, and past, present, and future is all connected. And just because you're actually listening to me as I am transmitting to you, and your eardrums actually vibrating, I'm actually connecting with you on much deeper level as that. Then we had a brother who talked about the formation of words, and just by listening and not necessarily agreeing, but just by listening, you understand. And if you fall into understanding, it means you put yourself in a certain position. But the great level of debate, the great level of subject covered from the microscopic to the thermonuclear, down to the far reaches of outer space, you missed out. If you got that kind of mind, just remember, the next time we're having an event, Brother Dougie's going to tell you about it. You make sure you be there now.
Well, thanks, Patrick. My name's Supreme. Once again, hours of the morning, and you know, I always promise to come on the show and go home earlier. I always end up staying late. The event on Sunday was very interesting. The title was Investing in Yourself and Your Family. And I thought it was quite interesting to see, not interesting, quite nice to see that some people actually came with their family and took in mother and son. You know, I saw mother and daughters. I had my daughter there, and she was very impressed with the speakers. Now, Jammers is beside me. One thing I liked about Jammers is a person who challenges himself and comes out of his comfort zone and goes in front of a crowd and speaks and breaks down words on the spot. It's very interesting because Jammers actually does surprise me. Not saying, you know, he's not capable of it, but he put himself in a position where he's uncomfortable to answer the question. And we saw an earlier Find Your Voice event where he actually had a judge and a jury. And he was getting judged and jury. Once again, he stepped up to the plate once again, breaking down etymology, the words, and some of the crowd were actually asking, you know, questions, and he was answering it. Brother Darrell was very, very interesting, and I found that he was very, what I call, entertaining in his mannerism of, you know, he put fun, joke and seriousness all in one. He bottled up something that some speakers haven't got, and that's that, you know, like kind of comedy, but you know, I've got a point and a moral point to what the topic is. And it was very interesting how, you know, same with Jammers, same with Melvin, that they spoke about their adversity when he was young. His mum was in a mental institution, I think he mentioned. Oh, his mother. I'm talking about Daryl. Daryl's mum had an overdose or something like that, and he had to step up to the plate. So that's how he came about. Jammers was living in a car. In a van. Sorry, van, car. Yeah. Mervin, when he came, he started off saying that he didn't know nothing about maths, and he learned maths till he became head of maths. Right. And it's very interesting how and you know, I was very surprised that he actually said that he originally was a traffic warden. Right? But sometimes you have to do what you gotta do, right? And he gave us his journey up to the point, and the brain and the mind. I know this is Siam's area, so we'll be touching on that. Raz McCoy was very interesting, talking about consciousness. First time I heard Raz McCoy speak, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to the next Raz McCoy. You know, the whole event was very, for those who missed it, I'm going to ask you, make sure next time you turn up, because we know there was a lot of events on that Sunday, Jamaican independence, Mosiah. There were so many things happening. But the biggest thing, the title said it, investing in yourself and your family. You know, Brother Dougie, Find Your Voice, put this event on. And I thought, you know, what a fantastic title and 4 fantastic speakers. So on that point, I'm going to say, you know, congratulations to Find Your Voice and all the speakers that spoke. You know, we look forward to the, I think it's going to be part 4, is it?
Yeah, part 4 probably. Okay, thank you for a very evaluation, critique by the man Supreme, you know what I mean? You don't leave nothing for nobody else for coming for us, you know? Yeah. So, James, I know that you was one of the speakers then. I know you full joy yourself and come with some bamboozle words and breaking words upside down, turning inside out. You know, your people bamboozled, you know, and you definitely have a talent to be able to break things down on the spot. So Jammers, now, so give us your spin on things, man.
Well, if it's Supreme is right, yeah, I was on the spot, but it wasn't a position I wanted to put myself in. I was on the spot because I think Patrick saved me the night before when I was supposed to play at 2 venues at the same time, and he came to my rescue, you know. So, and then there was no cab, so I had to carry all my books and all my all the material, you know. So I was on the spot, and I didn't through all of that. I didn't plan nothing. You know, so I just went upstairs and pulled out the board and had a felt tip pen, and I just hoped a miracle would occur. But yes, thankfully it was a great crowd, and yeah, I think I've already spoken. I counted it. I've already spoken 7 times in front of an audience, and this is the second time I've actually used a presentation, and the first time I used the board. So yeah, for me it was, yeah, from someone who was terrified of speaking in front of people, you know, I feel that, yeah, I found my feet now, and also through the Speakers Club as well, which we've created. I sort of helped create the Speaker Club because I couldn't really speak, but I didn't want to pay no money to go Toastmasters and that, so I thought, let's have an environment where we can teach ourselves, you know. So I think it's worked out well. You know, and it was a great experience. I think what you've done, Dougie, is having, it's like, I think for me, for the first time, you had speakers touching different areas. You know, it wasn't basically all on the same subject, and I think that's what really gave it another dimension. You know.
Okay then. As the words, man, you know, I know someone, you love words, you eat words for breakfast, dinner, and lunch. You know. Well, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know. But your book, you know, Etymology, the roots of words. So break down what we mean by etymology. What does that mean? And break it down slowly so people can understand.
Yeah, I know. I've been told I talk too fast. I think it's really out of fear, you know, really. But anyway, I'm speaking from my life. But yeah, basically, etymology is the truth. I mean, well, you go into a dictionary, it tells you the history of words. But when you go to look at the Greek or the Latin, what etymology means, it means the truth. You know,
it means the truth.
The true words, yeah.
The true words.
Yeah, true words.
Etymology means the true
word. That's okay, right. Yeah, and that's where the confusion is, because if you've created the language, then you should be the history and the origin. So if you've created the language, you shouldn't have a word in your vocabulary that's looking for the origin and the history. So basically, that's where I've gone. I think beyond what other people in this circle have done, where they go to Latin and break down Latin. I've gone beyond the Latin and looked at the roots, which is
so etymology. Where does that come from? Latin?
It comes from Greek.
Come from the Greek.
Yeah.
Okay then.
To describe something that's was there previously. Basically, that's the real. And what I've done in the book is, when I was looking for language, I couldn't find a book that had everything in one place, because the dictionary and even a lot of grammar books, they wipe out Africa out of the equation, you know, and you don't have the Hebrew. The Hebrew is totally out of the equation on it.
So hold on. Someone asked a question. I think it might have been today, and based on your presentation and so forth, yeah. And what I was saying tonight, you know, you look at the root of words, right? You don't really necessarily look at the dictionary. because even that you find contradiction in using dictionary. But why is it you don't use the dictionary in terms of reference? From right in saying that.
Well, if you look at a dictionary, the dictionary can't even make up its mind what the word is. This gives you about 5 definitions of the one word. So the dictionary is confused. Right. They don't know what the one definition of it is.
Right.
You know, and a dictionary is a meaning. A meaning in mathematics means an average. Yeah. A meaning is not the precise. It's not precise definition. So basically, a meaning is showing you that it's not the precise definition of a word. And in a dictionary, after every word, you've got in brackets the phonetics of the word. So basically, the phonetics of the word doesn't come from Latin, doesn't come from Greek, doesn't come from German, or doesn't come from Spanish, doesn't come from Italy. The phonetics comes from the Carthaginians in Africa. But in the whole of the dictionary, it won't say nothing about Africa. So that's why when you look at a dictionary, you're going to be a dick, unless you look at the phonetics and find out the root of the word. And I've just looked in the Oxford Psychological Dictionary, and basically English is a meta language. A meta language. English is a meta language. Means when you look at the original language and you use your language to refer to the original language. So that's what it is. It's a copy of a language. It's not the original language.
Okay then. So in terms of how we articulate ourselves or use, when we express to each other, I mean, we have to continuously redefining the words we express to each other.
Definitely, because I'll get to the point about why I don't do is the dictionary. If you go to, as I said, if you go to the psychological book and you find out, you look at the word meta language, you'll see that English is a language that you're using to refer to the original language. And if you don't tell people that you're using this language to look at another language, and you hide the fact, then you create a paradox. Right, a paradox is also a psychological position. So a paradox means you're creating a lie. So if I'm not telling you that I bought this car from Fred and I said it's my car, I'm telling you a lie. So the dictionary is basically a lie. It's not telling you where the original language is coming. It's giving you a meaning. It's not giving you the fact. So basically the dictionary is a lie. There's no such thing as an English alphabet.
No, just an English alphabet. Okay then. So as I said, we do have jumps inside the hole, so look at the tear up things upside down when it comes to everything about words and language.
Yeah, and I'm glad Jamin's mentioned that, because that was leading to a question that I was going to ask you about. Where did the alphabet come from, right? And it's always been bantered around in the era. I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, with the Y and the J in the alphabet. And because you put up some words and I was thinking, well, hold on a minute. If there wasn't a Y and a J, how can we pronounce that word in the way we're seeing it, if you get what I mean? So...
as I said, basically, if you're totally correct, because if you ask a Greek man, a Latin man, or English man, or Italian man, or German man, what does A mean? They won't be able to tell you the answer. So if you've created the alphabet, you must know what alpha means. You must know what A means. So basically, that's another that's showing you that this language. That's why it's not English language. It's not such thing as an English alphabet. It should be an Afrobet, because to be lettered means the letter has a meaning. A letter should have a meaning. And when you go to the Hebrew language, you go to the Phoenician language, you go to the hieroglyphic, you'll see that each letter has a meaning behind it. So if you, for instance, you said the letter A, you turn the letter A the other way around, you see an ox's head. That's where the Phoenician definition of the A come from. The A meant strength. So they signified the ox as strength. So, and also you get strength by your intake of air, ox, oxygen. So the A, when you look at the Phoenician definition, relates to strength, relates to your intake of air. That's why it's first. And if you go to the Hebrew alphabet, you'll see the same thing. The ox signifies strength. So that's the meaning of the letter. So every letter has a meaning, and the meaning is a way of you reaching your full potential. It's not just a word to say something. It's a way you really you reach your full potential. Then you go to the hieroglyph, you see a vulture. So the vulture is teaching you about nature. So the letter was a memory tool to teach you how to use perfect action and perfect thought with nature. That's why they was able to make pyramids and live in gold and, you know, achieve things that they still can't do now, because the letter was just a device to achieve their higher nature.
I just want to jump in here to come to current date. And there's a word that I see, and I know they're going to put it in the dictionary, but to me, and it's the word Brexit. You know, when they, now, instead of saying all the word now, they put Brexit. And I say to people, that's not actually a word. But it is now it's being used so much that it's a word. You understand?
Jammers continue, but what I will inject and say is that this is example of composite words, because the English language is a composite language. You take words, or you have dialects from different languages, so to speak, yeah, and then you combine them together to create a word, and this is which ain't a real word.
Yeah.
So this is an example. When you're saying Brexit, because it's supposed to be exit from Britain, exit. Yeah. You know, so this is these composite words are what, if you don't understand how the languages come together, then you can't even really say you know what you're saying. You see, Brother Jammers.
Just bounce off what you said. Basically, it's a process called co-location. So you put two words together, or two sounds together to create a new word, such as internet. So this is proof that they have not created anything. They've got to use sounds that are already there, put the two sounds together to make up a new sound, because they can't create new sounds. They can only use sounds that are already there. So really exit and break away, put together to get Brexit. So that's basically how the English language is made up of sounds called grammar. And the grammar is taken from the Phoenician alphabet, because let me just stress the point that a unit of sound is called phone from the Phoenician. So how the whole world registers sound is by the phonetics and by the Phoenician alphabet. Phoneme in Greek means to speak. So basically, Phoenician was the science of putting sounds to the symbols and the letters. So ancient Africa put the sounds to the symbols and the letters that the European has never mastered and never will master. So they have to use our unit. They have to use our skill, so a skill to put sound together, to even be able to speak.
I know there's another word, and I could come up with words that I've questioned, and that was back in the days they used this word called yuppie. And I used to think yuppie sound like poppy. So poppy yuppie. But then yuppie was a word for forwardly moving, like something so. And I used to think, well, what that's got to do with yuppie and whatever. And then they tried to bring in boppy, meaning a black up mobily. I can't go through the whole thing. But is that not slang being put in, that because it's been used, like in the year as a buzzword, now it becomes a normal word, and I can't understand that.
Well, wow. We're talking about the way language is being used to really just manipulate your mind. And the way it messes with the certain areas in your brain. Because if you look at the type of language the youths are saying now, they're saying things like
Wagwan.
Hey, but we're saying Wagwan, yeah?
It's not in the dictionary.
That's in the.
Is it?
I was gonna go somewhere else, but
go ahead. You go.
But what it was gee, man, you just took me on to something else. But because I was gonna remember. I remember the time we was growing up, and the word wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word wicked. We turned that word turned into something positive. Wicked, everything, good. And then I remember when that got put in a dictionary and defined as good. Now, I feel at that time, this is when we were really, we unsuspectingly, we were contributing to the distortion of meaning, okay, with words that had its clarity before, in the sense of what we associated with. Because now wicked is something good.
Yeah.
Right? And wicked ain't good. Wicked is wicked. See? And because of the effects, wickedness, the results of wickedness is not something that is pleasurable to you. You see? So looking at how these words then can become, as in a language, meaning tongue, how the tongue gets abused and misused, and then that is putting out various tonal frequencies that are not tuning you in to the, I would say the agreeable side of your nature. Because, for example, the youth stem right now, listen, when you growing up, if somebody say you're sick, you know what that means. You're not feeling well. Now the youth them I said, this thing is sick.
Yeah.
And the thing means, and they're say telling you, oh good, this thing is the best thing. Yeah. Right? So what is happening? We know what is happening, but the awareness and what do you do about that? Because English is a made-up language, okay? It's composite like chemist. You know, certain words that we can say, okay, relate to. Chemist, chemi. Yeah? Alchemy. Right? So when you look into the etymology, which is supposed to mean the true sense and the study of the true sense of words, you find that they will tell you, in some of the words, origin unknown. In some of them, it will be Hindi. In some of them, it will be German. In some of the, what's making it up, it's going to be Old English. Some of it's Hebrew. Some of it's certain, all of a sudden, certain words, them, certain origins that them can't define. Yeah? Because obviously they don't want you to find the link between where these words or the origins of these words come from. But the thing is, it's about going to another level with these words. Because every word, I mean, if we go back to what Jammers was saying about, the English isn't actually the origin of any language or origin of any kind of writing system, so to speak. But what you would do, you'd find, if you go back to Sumer, because we don't really talk about Sumer. We may talk about Greek, talk about Old English, Latin. We talk about Hebrew, which is not even, Hebrew is a verb. Hebrew is not even a language. Aramic is the language. Hebrew is something, is an action based on crossing over. Ibri. It's when you cross over. In fact, in their book, talk about Abraham crossing over from the Euphrates to the Tigris River. And the people who were on the other side, they called him Ibri. Yeah? Which means to cross over. So then now we end up having the word Hebrew, believing it's a language. And it's not a language, it's a verb. It's just an action. The actual language would be Aramic. So, go on.
Yeah, just before you move into the next, I just want to catch up with you. So basically, I want to just keep up with what you're saying, and basically, to further confuse, I'm just going back to the word wicked, to further confuse the situation. When you go to the Latin language, you see they've reversed the symbols. Yeah, the root word of Latin means to hide and conceal. So basically, what they've done, when they've took the sounds of the symbols, we create the sound of the symbols, they've taken them away so we can't see them. They performed a process called strip-fo-symbolia on us. That means strip the sound from the symbols. So basically, we're seeing the word, they're giving us a good word, and we're looking at it as a bad word. For instance, the word wicked. The word wick means to see, means a light. So that's bad for them, because if we start to see things from the wick, through the light, it's going to cause a problem for them. So wick is something bad for them. The next one is the word no. No means to be free. When you're trying to run from your parents, they say no, because they put a bad signal on the word no. No, it also means to sell. It was the capital of Egypt. So when you want to be free, they say no. So now the energy they put on no is that it's a bad word, but no actually means to be free. The next one is nega. Nega means to stop. Negative. So basically, if you've got poison in you, you're gonna negate the poison to stop it. So negate means to stop. So basically, they don't want us to stop them progressing. The next trick word is the word live. Livio in Latin means to envy. So basically, they are saying a word that was originally good, taking it to reversing the polarity, so we think it's a bad word to us when it's a good word. So that's basically that's the first point that I like to make, is that they've stripped the sound from the symbol. The second point I like to make is basically what you said on the Hebrew, because I'll concur what you said with Hebrew, because basically if you look at the Hebrew language, it's actually a Kemetic language. Basically it's based on Akhenaten, because Akhenaten had the theory of the one God. So basically, and he fought against all the other principles in Egypt, and he had to move out of Egypt. So basically, and it was Egyptian priests that moved out of Egypt that created the Hebrew language. So as you're saying, it's something to move. This is what happened. Egyptian priests had to move out because he tried to big up himself and get run out of the country, and they created this Jew language. So the truth is Jew now, and the Jew, so we're going to give it to you now.
Can I mess both of you guys up, linguists and masters of the language? Now, I've been to Africa, I've been to France, I've been to Germany, I've hung around with some of the best people here in Tottenham, or Nam, as in Vietnam, and I don't actually understand what they're saying, because 90% of communication is actually unsaid. It's body language. And so far, I haven't got myself into trouble yet. It doesn't mean to say I'll go out there and get it wrong. And so 90% of communication is non-verbal. So when I was in Germany, and I was saying, I want this piece of cake, there's a thing about, you could say to somebody, I hate you. And you could say it this way, I hate you. Or you can say, I hate you. And the tempo and the level has a meaning. And when someone's communicating with me, whether it's the new Polish people, whether it's the new our friends from Somali, who now, or even our friends from the Caribbean, you know, with a bad attitude, you've got to listen to them. And even though you don't understand, because it's a broken patois, actually many different parts of the Caribbean, each has their different broken patois. And you don't, it's when you listen to it after a while you get to know it, but first off you don't. So you have to read more or less the body language, how it's said, what is emphasized in it, you know, and take it from there. And I think this is where we get into a lot of problems when the youth encounter the police, when some of us encounter establishment. We are not reading, or we're not communicating using body language, and what we say and how they take it, they're not actually listening to us, they're just watching our body language, and it may be very energetic and they misinterpret it.
Can I just jump in here? I'm just looking up a word called hyperbole. Hyperbole, I don't know if you know what that means. I'm going to just read the definition, because it kind of answers what Jamin said. And then, hyperbole is an ancient Greek, yeah, is used of exaggeration. You know, you said the word wicked. So I'm just going to finish reading it. As a rhetorical device or a figure of speech. In rhetoric, it is also sometimes known as osist. In poetry an authority. My English is bad. It emphasizes and evokes strong feelings and creates strong impressions as a figure of speech. It's usually not meant to taken literally. So when you say the word wicked, you understand? So the usage, I'm going to put it, the usage may be used to instance of such exaggeration, emphasis or effect. I might jump there. As in the sense someone say, I had a bag and it weighed a ton. Because it doesn't make sense. You're carrying a bag, but I'm just jumping there. But that's a thing they call in language I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Hyperbole.
Yeah,
it is
Hyperbole.
correct.
So what you saying that as a word what is used to exaggerate a certain kind of...
In other words, I'm pointing it back to Siayome in the sense that, you know, when you said the youths will say a word, wicked. It's sick, but it's an exaggeration to intensify something, but it doesn't mean that you take it literally. So it's like, you understand?
Yeah. I mean, this is this also breeds confusion, though, right? And you know, this is why we, you know, from the word hyperbole you were just saying, this is why we talk about hype, and don't believe the hype, as Public Enemy has said. Don't believe the hype, because the hype is not what you're supposed to acknowledge or line up with as true or any factualness. So these are intended to confuse, okay? And what Patrick was just saying is very interesting, because it's about taking this language to another level, or taking the whole communication to another level. Because as he rightly said, 90% of communications is nonverbal. And when we think about language, you know, it means tongue. That's all the word means. If we're going to take it literally, the word language means tongue. It does not describe the dialect you're using. And what is dialect? Dialect is divided speech. Lect, to lecture, you see? And you're dealing with a divided speech, I should say. So all of this, if you remember now, in the book, that's all I'm going to call it. In the book, there's a passage where it explains about everybody on the planet speaking of one accord. An accord would mean harmony, and that this intimidated these beings who translated to say Yahweh or Elohim or God, was intimidated by what the people were able to do because they were in one accord. They spoke one tongue, and therefore there was nothing that they could put their mind to that they wouldn't be able to accomplish. So this whole thing about building a tower, the ziggurat, up to what they're saying to the heavens, which is like, well, how blimmin' heck, how are you going to build a tower that high? But what it actually is, it was like a space launch station where they were going to launch a Shem, which is a space shuttle, right? So these beings said, well, y'all, man, we're going to have to go down there and confound their tongues, right? So according to the book, this God came down and confounded the tongues of the people, right? Which is why and scattered them abroad. This is according to the book. So confounding the tongues, scattering the people abroad, is then what they're indicating is that the origin of the confusion in the world is based upon what they call God in the book, that has created this confusion so people will not be able to understand or comprehend what each one is saying, to have the same images, meanings, to be able to resonate with one another in order for us to be able to do things as in unity, in a harmonic way. And then we have this issue about Why can't we come together? Yeah. Why can't we why can't we work together and all of that? And then many people believe in the book. And if they really knew about the book proper, they would know why we ain't be able to work together. Because according to the book, their God is the one that has confound everybody's tongues and is the source behind the confusion that everybody find themselves in, according to the book. You with me? So, I will go in deeper into this to where we're going to go. But Jammers, you want to
I just want to bounce off of what you said. The key word is harm. I want you to remember harmony. Yeah, remember harmony.
Harm.
Basically, what we used to do that the other races didn't do, we used to hear with our heart. Look at the word heart. The first 4 letters of the word heart is here. The whole of the word is heart. The middle of the word heart is ear. Take the H from the heart, put it at the end, you see the word earth. The first 3 letters of the word earth is ear. So basically, we communicated with nature. We could tell, just as Patrick said, a vibration. Like a snake or a cat, the 2 most intelligent animals that work with vibrations work off a sound. So when you made a vibration or a sound, I could feel that sound because I hear with my heart. They are travelers. They see things because they travel by the sea. So they see things and they have to analyze it. When you hear with your heart, that's the most powerful mechanism. It bypasses your brain because when you taste something, it has to be analyzed by your brain. When you smell something, it has to be analyzed by your brain. When you hear something, you have to compare the other sounds that you heard in a certain way. So it has to be analyzed by brain. When you see something, you have to analyze it with other things that you see. But when you hear with your heart, the vibration goes straight through your ear. What you hear in the word here is the word ear into your eardrum. The beat. You've got organs in your body that plays the synthesize the sounds that goes into the heart that beats the same vibration of the vibration that you heard. So you can synthesize with the vibration. So we heard with the heart. So to counteract that, remember what they call us Phoenicians, masters of sound. How do you counter a master of sound? That's where the word foe comes from. We were the Phoenicians. So they saw the people with sound as their foe. Foe means sound, foe means enemy. How do you counter, how do you bring down a set of beings that communicate vibration? You distort the sound like hyperbole. You distort the sound. Their god of war that they use, their god of war was Mars. No, Ares. Ares was the god of war that was the most hated god in the whole of the Olympics. Ares' son was fear and terror. Ares' daughter was who? Harmony. Harmony is what they use to bring us down. Harmony, what did harmony do? Harmony united 2 opposite points. So basically, we were the traders. So we harmed their money. So basically, harmony is what they use to put a sound in there that makes us think we are like them, but they've distorted it. So every time we use the sound, it brings us down.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's many ways to kind of come at this this topic, this subject, this awareness, and the way you see when we're now dealing with vibrations, this is where we have to be at now to transcend these sounds, because I mean, what you're saying there now with the heart and everything you've said there, you see, these are kind of like what we're doing here is decoding and unveiling what's been hidden in plain sight. Yeah, because as they say, the truth is hidden in plain sight. When you've distorted people's a way of identifying with what would align them to become back in resonance with themselves and the higher and the source of our being, frequencies have been used to distort matters very much, right? So when you're now dealing with when you're now dealing with the heart, okay, and when you mentioned about the ear, your heart is the first organ developing in the fetus. The brain hasn't even developed yet. And the heart is developed in what, 21 days, something like that, right? Now, this is where we should be realizing where the truth is at. Because when we were growing up, there was a thing such as learning by heart. Did you remember them saying, yeah? You would learn by heart. You don't learn by head, you learn by heart. Yeah? So by learning by heart, what it meant was that when you know something by heart, you don't even think about it. It just comes through. When you recall, when you just need to recall it, it's there. You don't have to think. You see? Now, what happened is that the way the system is in how it conditions us out of the natural resonance we're to tune into is by taking you out of your heart and into your head. Yeah? And then they fill your head with stuff in. Like, where you call it? What them call it? What, Christmas, turkey, and what them call it? What them call it? Thanksgiving and thing. Yeah. So you become stuffed. You're stuffed. And when your head is stuffed, what they said, my head feels kind of cloudy. Yeah. So you can't process information properly. Yeah. And then they give you the emphasis that your mind is what your head is what you're supposed to use. Now, the truth of the matter is that, in California, because, it gets confirmed when they have scientific equipment that can so-called tangibly verify what they would deny unless they have some tangible evidence, because it's all based on the five senses. And the senses, beyond the five senses, what is that? We got the smell, we got the hearing, we got the taste, we got the sight, we got the touch. So the language entraps you within the five senses, right? But what's the sense that goes beyond the five senses? I'm going to continue, but I'm just asking a question.
You want me to answer?
Yeah, what's
I
that?
can give you two more.
Just one.
I'll give you two.
All right, then you can't do that. But the one links you into the others.
Okay, because these two are maybe a diversion, so I'll give you these two that you can go. So, but the first one is inner sense. Okay. What we had when we was young and we was pure. That sense.
Clear. Pure
is
clear.
The new sense that they've replaced that with is license. Because you need a license to do anything in this country.
Well, when you said license, that word's come from what's it? Licentious, licentious, which means actually something to do with and sexually just rampant. You know what I mean? You can just grind up anything, right? That's where the word license is linked to. Yeah. Now, the feeling, I'm just giving it away, but basically the sense after the fifth. Beyond those five senses is feel. Now, this is where we need to connect. This is where we really need to tune into.
Well, let Supreme
I was just gonna go back to how Jammers started the conversation talking about meta language, and then I thought of the word metaphor, right? And it's something that you're all saying. And I looked it up. What metaphor is? A figure of speech. Yeah. So when you go.
But what we.
I need to come in that. If you look at the word metaphor, yeah, it's got the word "fo" in it. So it tell you a figure, but it won't tell you about the sound. So even in the word metaphor, it's hiding the reality of what it really is. You have to even be careful of the dictionary. That's why you have to be careful of the dictionary's definition of it.
It's funny because it says it may provide clarity or identify hidden similarities between two ideas. A metaphor. I don't know if that's explained anything.
Well, you see, when you say this now, we go on the next level, because this is now about the equivocal nature of the language, right? When we're talking about a word can have different equal meaning to something else. Yeah. So you don't have this one clear definition to this word for you to be clear upon it. So when we go into the meta is also where you got metaphysics. Yeah. So meta now is opposed to now translate as beyond. Meta is now beyond. This is what the word means. So metaphysics is beyond the physical.
Okay. And beyond the physical reminds me of the Rasta conscious brother on Sunday who says everything is conscious. He gave an example. If you cut off your hand, the hand still remains with a lot of information until it's reconnected back to you physically, surgically, and then it still continues to function. So each section of us has information that communicates on a different level rather than just language. You talk about the heart and how, and the senses, and you mentioned feeling as an extra sense. I would say consciousness, deeper still, each cell is connected.
Well, what I would add to this, because this is where we go. Feeling is what enables you to experience consciousness. Because consciousness awareness now is where the reason why the sense of feel is, and when we then deal with the emotional body, which is the energy body really. Yeah? This is, without feel, you can't experience consciousness. So feeling is how you tune in to a vibrational frequency, where the feeling, the nature of the feeling, is what enables you to know whether you're in alignment with who you are, or if you're out of alignment with who you are, or with someone else's vibration or state of consciousness. Because consciousness is to be experienced, and the only way you can experience consciousness is through feel. You don't think, because thinking isn't the way you will experience in order to know. So this is where the feel now comes in, to where we then have to go beyond these languages.
Okay, before you move on, we still have to define what is consciousness, because you just said that it's a feeling, but again, we still have to find consciousness. Okay. People out there listening right now, and we're going somewhere with it. So let's break it down. What is consciousness? Because for instance, there's three different kind of consciousness. You have the subconscious, you have the superconscious, and the unconscious, right?
But they're not separate.
They're not separate. All right then.
We're dealing with consciousness. We're dealing with different levels of consciousness.
See.
It's like you have frequency bands. Or you look at now, you got these, you got how many, I mean, when we was growing up, there's only 3 channels, right? Now there are hundreds of channels, yeah? Mm-hmm. So if we use the metaphor of, well, not the metaphor, we use the analogy of these channels to help to describe what consciousness is, yeah? So consciousness is the infinite range of frequencies, yeah? Vibrations that you can tune in to different frequencies of consciousness, like tune into different channels on your TV, or different wave bands of frequencies on a radio transmitter receiver. Yeah? Now, consciousness is also energy. All is consciousness, and all is energy. So therefore, all energy is conscious. Now, consciousness is the ocean of boundless creative energy.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
So consciousness is the generator that gives life, gives form and consciousness to that which it is bringing into being.
Okay, so what we're saying is that every form we see, so for example, like a stone, that is conscious. Because it's forming to some kind of being, yeah?
Everything is consciousness, but here's the difference between an inanimate object and an animated object. A stone is unconscious, yeah? Now, this is where people are going to give it, no, but everything is conscious, yeah? Everything is conscious. Well, the stone is conscious, and the chair is conscious, and, when people don't have or take the time to care enough to have a deeper comprehension of what we want to get into, what you are to know about yourself. Then we start to create miscomprehensions, misunderstanding, or misfit information. and then we start to try to apply that.
I'm glad you clarified that. That's very, very important. Yeah.
Because the thing with consciousness is, and the difference between a stone and ourself, or the difference between a tree and ourself. Yes, all is conscious. Yeah. And you can tap into the consciousness frequencies of a plant, of a tree, because you can tune into those wavelengths. Yeah. But here's where things get funny. A stone is unconscious, even though it's consciousness. Yes. But it's unconscious, meaning that it's not conscious of itself being consciousness, for it to have the awareness to therefore transform itself and become animated and be directing its own, by its own volition. Yeah. So to be consciously to be conscious that you are.
I like what you said. It's unconscious.
You know what I'm saying? Because look, a tree, you have things in nature that are hardwired into nature, and therefore they work automatically by the universal laws of nature. Yeah. So they just comply on automatic. That because they're working unconsciously. You see what I mean? Because if a tree was conscious of its own self, to say, I'm conscious that I'm a tree, I'm a very fruitful tree, and therefore, if that was the case, that tree would uproot itself and become something other than a tree. It can only be what it is. But it's all the growth, everything in nature is operating automatically, right? Unconsciously, like how people are operating unconscious, meaning you're not consciously aware of various stimuli, various impulses, there you go. Now, when you become aware of what you were unconscious of, you then now start to have an effect on that which you're conscious of, because it's the conscious awareness that is the healing principle within ourselves. What you're not conscious of, you cannot change. Yeah. And it will control you unconsciously. You see what I mean? You begin to be manipulated by various patterns and traits.
Just give an example. I know Patrick was there. Just give an example so people can follow what you're saying.
Well, Patrick was going to say high blood pressure, but what came to my mind is what came to me was this. It's when we then, my train of thought. What I was thinking is this: the example of being unconscious. You see, this ego we talk about. Now, the ego is developed. The ego is part of. The ego is what enables us to move towards what we want to make, that will make us feel happy, and move away from that which we feel will give us danger and harm, right? Everything's got this ego, but the ego is a creative tool that needs to be directed by the soul. Now, when we're growing as a baby, the ego cry. If a child didn't cry, it most probably starved to death, because it is the way it's communicating its ego what it needs. Okay, to make it happy. So it's going to, this is where the ego now is what makes us kind of, without the ego drive, there's no creation, right? There's no protection or defense.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is with the ego that is that it's limited to only focus on self-satisfaction and survival. But the ego is the guardian of the individuality. Now, it's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind that works together, to develop your personality, your ego personality. Now, you have certain emotions, emotional thoughts that is generated through repeated behavior, certain reactions when you don't have a healthy reaction to life, okay? Now, what happens is that these repeated behaviors formulate certain habits, okay? Certain unhealthy habits to how we approach life. Now, as we grow, these habits and thought patterns become stored in the unconscious, right? And until something happens in your life that brings back to mind or brings to memory something that happened way in the past or your childhood, then these habits you developed, these emotional, coming from the emotional thinking of the egoic mind, these habits rise up, okay? And then now, because of the memory, you then start to act out this egoic behavior, yeah? Now, that was always with you, but you were unconscious of it. And one of the purposes of relationships is to bring to your conscious awareness that those habits, those I would say disagreeable traits, yeah, that is operating in you unconsciously because you're not consciously aware of it. So therefore, when you're not consciously aware of certain negative thought habits or states, it's controlling you unconsciously.
Can I just come in on what you said there? Basically, but beyond consciousness, there's an element that's holding it together, which is element. So element is the intelligence that makes you consciousness. If you look at the word El, it means spirit. So like you've got cement, what holds bricks together, you've got element, that a spiritual aspect that holds things together. The heart, back to the heart, is called Ab, A-B. The reason why we can connect with the higher level, because when you put Ab with L, you got Abel. So when you're able to do something, the reason why you can sense the vibration is because you have the element of that vibration in you. You can sense the metal because you have metal in you. You can sense the water, you have water in you. So the connection we have with our outer self is through the element that gives us the conscious connection. And the next thing is about it is that this element that gives us is the intelligent level that we have. So to counter, as you said, back to what you said, we can feel things into existence. But they want us to do things the right way and leave the left. Left means to leave behind. Hidden in the word left is the word felt. So this is what is happening to us, why we have a lack of consciousness, because we start doing things the right ways. When you're doing things without being conscious, you're told the action to perform and you perform the action. So this is what is disconnecting us with our conscious level, able to feel things. Just quickly to put it in a metaphor, you've got Cain and Abel. Abel is the spirit you have in your heart to do something. Cain, ka, means to carry something in you. In prefix is a negative. So Cain is carrying something in it that is negative. That's why it is against the person who is Abel. And when you put Cain and Abel together, you get cannibal, which means against. So that's the metaphysics of the word heart. You're relating it to the Bible and taking it to the intelligence of the word element.
Yeah, I'm just going to interject in. I don't know if I'm taking it off track. But in the news last week, yeah, there was a gentleman who...
Taking it off track.
Yeah.
You don't know if you are, but
yeah. As a metaphor, off track, yeah. There was a gentleman who, I don't know if he banged his head. He had an incident, and I've heard this happen before. He woke up and he started speaking Hebrew. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you say unconscious, do we inside of us have this unconsciously, but it needs something to bring it to our conscious? Because why would he just all of a sudden can speak Hebrew?
You so see, when it was on the news, or the
yeah, it was in the papers.
In the paper, okay.
But that's not the first. I've heard of this happening before, where a woman wakes up or something's happened, some incident, and she starts speaking Chinese.
Speaks a different. Yeah. All right, let me still on track there. Actually, let me use that mic. 1, 2. Okay. Now, okay, still on track, and maybe off track. A baby, and I'm going to chuck this at you, linguist specialists here. A baby of any country in the world, you could pick up and understand, or is it that any mother can understand any baby, but the baby does not speak any language?
Exactly. Yeah, you see, when women, especially women, have to develop, this is when we talk about intuition, which is a part of the feeling intelligence, because feeling is intelligent. And when we're talking about consciousness, you don't have consciousness without awareness, and conscious awareness is intelligence. So we need to kind of not split these things up like they're separate things. You don't have awareness without consciousness, and consciousness is intelligence. Yeah? Now, feeling is intelligence, a higher level of intelligence than the thinking, processing of the mind. So what you rightly, good point you make, yeah? Because the women, they have to develop this deeper sense of awareness to be able to understand the needs of a baby, or needs that where you can't even communicate with a so-called comprehensive language. So how will you go and look at people who use sign language? They don't speak, right? So you can comprehend them through knowing what the different signs symbolize as words to formulate letters to formulate words to formulate sentences. You deal with the blind, and now when you're dealing with the blind, what do they have to depend upon? They have to depend upon not just touch, but feel. They have to go into that sixth sense they talk about, right? That feel. So there is a deeper language, which is vibrational language. And this vibrational language is transmitted to us from star constellations, okay? This vibrational language is transmitted to us from animals, plants, trees, yeah? The elements, as you say, and ment is mentos. So the L, and L linking back to where they would say, it's an Aramaic word, they would call Hebrew. L is where you get also the word L means the, E-L. Or L can also mean source, yeah? Hence, there's a link with the word El and Al. Elo means is singular.
Can I just
Elohim is plural.
Can I just add to that about communication?
Yeah.
How does a jockey train his horse to be the fastest horse in the world without speaking a word to this horse?
Because it's dealing with vibratory language, because you know that animals actually feel into your energy field, your bioenergetic field. And you're communicating. We are communicating with each other or with people before you even physically meet them, right? And this is why that inner sense, that feel, we need to expound on it and tune back into the inner higher senses that are not dependent upon the external five senses, which is based, that keeps you on this physical identification. So you know the answer to that question, right? Because we're dealing with vibrations, and vibrations is also a language. When you deal with sound frequencies, look how through somatics, a sound frequency can be vibrating through a plate with some substance upon this metal plate. So this sound frequency is being transmitted through the speaker, where this metal plate's on top of it, and there's this substance upon the metal plate. Now it's a sound frequency, and that sound frequency of a particular hertz actually starts to generate and starts to arrange those molecules or filaments or whatever the substance it is, because it could be oil, it could be sand, it could be iron filaments, yeah? And this frequency is actually arranging those iron filaments or sand into symmetrical patterns that is very intricately designed, yeah? No hand is doing this, and it's doing it far quicker than how one would have to put such programs into a computer to generate the same type of image. So this is a sign of showing you that we're just chatting about the sound, for example, which is generated via vibrations, and vibrations is consciousness, right? So through the sound frequency generating through that plate, what are we seeing? We're seeing intelligence at work. Because the intelligence of the frequency, it's showing you that the sound is intelligent, because how come it's arranging these filaments, this substance on the plate into symmetrical, geographic patterns, man, and shapes, you know what I'm saying? Which is
which is orderly and intelligently designed. It's showing you that it's intelligence.
Yeah, can I just say bounce off this? Basically, as I said, what it is, you've got consciousness and you've got intelligence. Intelligence is in everything. It's an element. So everything has an element in it. Everything has a intelligence in it. The more aware you are of the elements, the more conscious you'll be getting. But basically, there's the bound and the boundless. So basically, you're going by a set of rules. So you're in. Unless you break the rules, you won't get to see the intelligence. Like as you're saying, the man with the Hebrew, something must have happened to him when he banged his head to create an energy in his head to access the energy of the Hebrew. Even me, when I was in the van, so the confined space I was, I've went to my wits end, my limit of what I could think of to access. Now I can break down words and spin words the other way around, backwards and front, because I've broken the rules of the language, what you're supposed to be doing. So once you break the rules, once you go beyond what is set, and if you look at the ancient principles of Kemet, you've got set and you've got Hiru. So set is the rules. So once you go past the rules, then you can see beyond the rules, the metaphor, you can see beyond the rules. So basically they've set the rules, and in the truth you're going to find the answer, because in the word truth is the word Ru. The truth of the matter is, the reason why they've hidden the language is because they don't like the fact that you've first. So the reason why when they call something true is because they rule what you know. Once you can see that somebody is doing something because they dislike you, then you can see the metaphor. You can see beyond what they are. You can see beyond that person. So basically, you can see his ruin of you. You can see Hiru. You can see his dislike. When you can see his dislike, you can see over him. When you can see over the person that dislikes you, the over will come and you will overcome him by seeing what is being set for you. So basically, you've got to break what is set, and that is the divine science of the hieroglyphics Set and Haru. That's the same thing in Cain and Abel. So basically, somebody dislikes you, so they're setting for you. Once you can see the dislike, you can see what is over them or beyond them, and then the over will come and you will overcome them.
Oh, get it. What I want to do is have a very short break, and then we'll continue the reasoning.
Hi. It's me again. Now, Diggy Bird told me that of a Tuesday night, 10 o'clock, I should turn on the radio and tune into SLR radio 97.7. They got a geezer by the name of Brother Dougie. Now, he don't play much music, but you know, he's about conversation, getting your old brain working, you know, stretch that mind in a different way. He's kind of educational, you know. He's got a gob on him, but he knows what he's talking about. He'll give you something to think about. He's taught me a thing or two. It's all about personal development. It's all about education. Well, Brother Dougie, Diamond Geezer. He's a bit of all right. Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. SLR. Brother Dougie. For those fortunate to be listening to this broadcast, please pass on the good news to your friends and family that on Tuesday nights from 10 p.m. for stimulating, thought-provoking, educational conversation that breathes sparks into flames for your and our personal development. Please stay tuned to Brother Dougie. Education at his core. Brother Dougie. Personal development. Brother Dougie. Community development. SLR Radio. SLRradio.com. That's Brother Dougie.
The present moment is sometimes unacceptable, unpleasant, or awful.
It is as it is. Observe how the mind labels it and how this labeling process This continuous sitting in judgment creates pain and unhappiness. By watching the mechanics of the mind, you step out of its resistance patterns, and you can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a taste of the state of inner freedom from external conditions, the state of true inner peace. Then see what happens and take action if necessary or possible. Accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. As long as you are unable to access the power of the now, every emotional pain that you experience leaves behind a residue of pain that lives on in you. It merges with the pain from the past, which was already there, and becomes lodged in your mind and body. This, of course, includes the pain you suffered as a child, caused by the unconsciousness of the world into which you were born. This accumulated pain is a negative energy field that occupies your body and mind. If you look on it as an entity in its own right, you are getting quite close to the truth. It's the emotional pain body. It has two modes of being, dormant and active. The pain body may be dormant 90% of the time. In a deeply unhappy person, though, it may be active up to 100% of the time. Some people live almost entirely through their pain body, while others may experience it only in certain situations, such as intimate relationships, or situations linked with past loss or abandonment, physical or emotional hurt, and so on. Anything can trigger it, particularly if it resonates with a pain pattern from your past. When it is ready to awaken from its dormant stage, even a thought or an innocent remark made by someone close to you can activate it. Some pain bodies are obnoxious but relatively harmless, for example, like a child who won't stop whining. Others are vicious and destructive monsters, true demons. Some are physically violent, many more are emotionally violent. Some will attack people around you or close to you, while others may attack you, their host. Thoughts and feelings you have about your life then become deeply negative and self-destructive. Illnesses and accidents are often created in this way. Some pain bodies drive their hosts to suicide. When you thought you knew a person and then you are suddenly confronted with this alien, nasty creature for the first time, you are in for quite a shock. However, it's more important to observe it in yourself than in someone else. Watch out for any sign of unhappiness in yourself, in whatever form. It may be the awakening pain body. This can take the form of irritation, impatience, a somber mood, a desire to hurt, anger, rage, depression, a need to have some drama in your relationship, and so on. Catch it the moment it awakens from its dormant state. The pain body wants to survive, just like every other entity in existence, and it can only survive if it gets you to unconsciously identify with it. It can then rise up, take you over, become you, and live through you. It needs to get its food through you. It will feed on any experience that resonates with its own kind of energy, anything that creates further pain in whatever form. Anger, destructiveness, hatred, grief, emotional drama, violence, and even illness. So the pain body, when it has taken you over, will create a situation in your life that reflects back its own energy frequency for it to feed on. Pain can only feed on pain. Pain cannot feed on joy. It finds it quite indigestible. Once the pain body has taken you over, you want more pain. You become a victim or a perpetrator. You want to inflict pain or you want to suffer pain, or both. There isn't really much difference between the two. You're not conscious of this, of course, and you will vehemently claim that you do not want pain. But look closely and you will find that your thinking and behavior are designed to keep the pain going for yourself and others. If you were truly conscious of it, the pattern would dissolve, for to want more pain is insanity and nobody is consciously insane. The pain body, which is the dark shadow cast by the ego, is actually afraid of the light of your consciousness. It is afraid of being found out. Its survival depends on your unconscious identification with it, as well as on your unconscious fear of facing the pain that lives in you. But if you don't face it, if you don't bring the light of your consciousness into the pain, you will be forced to relive it again and again. The pain body may seem to you like a dangerous monster that you cannot bear to look at, but I assure you that it is an insubstantial phantom that cannot prevail against the power of your presence. Some spiritual teachings state that all pain is ultimately an illusion, and this is true. The question is it true for you? A mere belief doesn't make it true. Do you want to experience pain for the rest of your life and keep saying that it is an illusion? Does that free you from the pain? What we are concerned with here is how you can realize this truth, that is, make it real in your own experience. So the pain body doesn't want you to observe it directly and see it for what it is. The moment you observe it, feel its energy field within you and take your attention into it, the identification is broken. A higher dimension of consciousness has come in. I call it presence. You are now the witness or the watcher of the pain body. This means that it cannot use you anymore by pretending to be you, and it can no longer replenish itself through you. You have found your own innermost strength. You have accessed the power of now.
What happens to the pain body when we become conscious enough to break our identification with it?
Unconsciousness creates it. Consciousness transmutes it into itself. St. Paul expressed this universal principle beautifully. He said, "Everything is shown up by being exposed to the light, and whatever is exposed to the light itself becomes light." Just as you cannot fight the darkness, you cannot fight the pain body. Trying to do so would create inner conflict and thus further pain. Watching it is enough. Watching it implies accepting it as part of what is at that moment. The pain body consists of trapped life energy that has split off from your total energy field and has temporarily become autonomous through the unnatural process of mind identification. It has turned in on itself and become anti-life, like an animal trying to devour its own tail. Why do you think our civilization has become so life-destructive? But even the life-destructive forces are still life energy. When you start to disidentify and become the watcher, the pain body will continue to operate for a while and will try to trick you into identifying with it again. Although you are no longer energizing it through your identification, it has a certain momentum, just like a spinning wheel that will keep turning for a while.
Yes. Well, back again, and to expound more on really the topic of consciousness. We were starting from the language as a form of communication, but you move beyond that to realize there's a form of communication without language. Yeah? So this is where we're going into the vibrational world of consciousness and creation in order to transcend the limitations we find ourselves caught up in based on the confusion of languages. Yeah? And so to enter into the realm of what we're talking now, is to give insight into this vibratory language that is creation is communicating with itself. Yeah. So consciousness is everything. And there's another way of explaining this, that we are formless awareness of being. For example, you could be in a dark room and you cannot see anything, hear anything. You cannot smell anything. You cannot taste anything or touch anything. But you have an awareness that you exist. Right? So that awareness of you existing is your awareness of being, which transcends a lot of the concepts we identify with and get limited towards. We get limited identifying with these structures and these concepts. But we are formless awareness of being. This is what we is. We transcend all concepts that we actually have of ourselves, because the true nature of ourselves transcends what we're being aware of being now as man or some physical body. Now, consciousness being the creative power. Consciousness is light, and that light is the light of what? Life. And that life is the energy that consciousness is. And through that energy is how we create. Now, what we are aware of being is what we become. This is what in the book, that statement, as a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he become.
So is it.
Now, we were talking about the heart earlier, and we'll go deeper into this about the heart. Because the heart is actually the gateway towards your subconscious. Because your subconscious does not think, your subconscious feels. And the way the subconscious is impressed upon, or how the subconscious gets programmed, is whatever you feel to be true, not what you think to be true. What you feel to be true is how the subconscious then responds and says, okay. And then it accepts that impression, like a seed impressed upon the earth. It goes in, penetrates into the soil. So the soil of the soil, check it out, the soil and soul, yeah? You got the soil of the earth, which represents our consciousness, yeah? And the seed represents what we and where we focus our consciousness on. For example, we are like a torch. And wherever you focus a torch, that's where the light will be. Yeah? That's where the light will be focused.
Well, on time, we've got someone on the live link here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay then. Greetings.
Greetings.
Yeah, greetings.
Greetings.
Okay then. Let people know your name or?
Sure.
Oh, okay. You have Sister Sharon online. So Sharon, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I didn't want to stop. I think his name is Siam's Rhythm. So I apologize for that. I just wanted to say a few things just before I retire for the night. I just wanted to, first of all, thank the sister Walata for the information that she gave out, because a lot of listeners don't even give out the information that she did give out freely.
Okay,
so I really appreciate that, and she's going to be useful for a lot of people, so I just wanted to thank her for that.
Thank you.
And the other thing I wanted to say congratulations to you and to thank you for such a good event on Sunday. I really enjoyed it, networking with other people as well as the speakers that you had there. I know Daryl, Jammers, Russ McCoy and Marvin, and I also was networking with other people that were there at your event. So I just really wanted just to, before I retire, was to congratulate you and to thank the speakers that were there. and to hope that you put more events like that on, and just to say congratulations. And I found it really useful and really helpful, and it's going to continue to help me on, because I made connections with a couple of people there. So I just want to say thank you, Brother Dougie, and I hope you do more, and I'll be attending more of your events.
Okay then. Is that the first time? The first time you come? Yeah.
It's the first time I've been to your event.
Okay, fantastic.
And I really enjoyed it. It had a very good vibe. Very positive energy in the room. I don't want to go on and on, but as I said, really good speakers, and I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward for the next one. And I was just going to retire, and I didn't. And I do apologise. I think his name, he said, is it Siayome? I didn't want to stop his rhythm, but I just wanted to say thank you for putting on that event, and hopefully you'll do a lot more, and I can get a lot more networking out of it.
Okay then. Okay. Well, my sister, give thanks for you to phone in these hours there. As the first thing, we would appreciate you, and and again, we're definitely gonna have more events. And and it's again, we have to give thanks to you, my sister. So anyway, we know you're going to rest up now, but we're going to keep going and going and going.
Well, enjoy the brothers. Enjoy your rest of the conversation. But as I said, I have to retire now.
Yeah, well,
I just wanted to say thank you, especially to the Walata, the solicitor, because she gave out a lot of good information, and to yourself.
Yeah. Okay then, my sister. Again, give thanks. Yeah.
Okay, blessing.
Blessing, love. Okay then. Fantastic. Okay then, sister. Just want to big us up for the event what took place Sunday. And if anybody's up and you is at the event, if you want to make a contribution, well, we'll come out a bit more of you this time that I was there. But yeah, feel free to come in upon us and obviously ask questions. We have Simon inside the house, and we're talking about the other thing about consciousness, the other thing about energy, the other thing about the soul. It all is one. It is one. But Sam, I just want to jump in and spin it up a little bit here, right? Because as you know that. A many conversations we had, in fact, we had over the on the ear when you phoned in, and we talk about, we hold on to a certain kind of concept and hate and this and that and whatever, and you were saying that we need to let go of these kind of concepts and these kind of belief and so forth. If I misrepresent information, Sam, please correct me. But I want to jump in because I think that's very important for you to bring this reasoning and expound upon that. You know what I mean? And again, we do have Patrick and James inside the house still. See? Yeah, man. So expound upon that one there, Ross.
Yes, it needs expounding because this term vibrations, good vibes, bad vibes, these are very, very important because we are energy beings. Consciousness is energy, as I said. All is consciousness, and consciousness is energy. All is energy, and therefore all energy is conscious. Now, if we just look at if we get out of this if we get into the non-physical reality of ourselves, it will be easier to comprehend, because we have to upgrade even the software of our minds. I mean, even our phones, right, is upgrading its software every month. Yeah? And then you got people still focusing on information that's all 30, 50 years old, redundant. Even the children who are learning, who are doing their SATs at the moment, or had been doing their SATs some months back, and going through all this pressure and this stress that puts them in vibration. It puts them in certain states of, look, a child being stressed, man, losing sleep, can't not think right, can't nyam proper because them stress out, right? And they're stressed out to memorize various things that the so-called institute tells them that if they do, they need to memorize these things so they can pass their exams, so they can enter into whatever university of their choice, and all of this and all of that and all of this and all of the amount of money that is being spent in order to put your children through college and all of this stuff. The point I'm getting to here is that 10 years from now, all of that stuff they went through, all the information, all of that so-called knowledge that they were memorizing in order to kind of get it correct on the exam paper, well, in 10 years' time, it's going to be redundant. Do you realize how crazy that is, of what we're putting so much energy into? And then in 10 years, what you've been taught is going to be redundant. A lot of us, we was growing up in schools, and everything we was being taught, you can't use that now, 40, 50, 60, or whatever years ago. That knowledge is redundant. It's redundant. So what's the knowledge we really need to be tuning into here? The knowledge we need to tune into here, which is which is what we really need to be dealing with, is ourselves, the consciousness and the true nature of who we are. That we are vibratory energy beings of light, sound, and that we emit energy. Here's a way of putting this. The three foundations of the immutable laws of creation is, one is that all is consciousness. Some people say all is mental. Okay, let's just deal with that. All is consciousness. What does that mean? It means that the mental state, what you conjure in your mind as an idea, your thought is an image. Then when we think about how did the creation come into being? Well, it's an outgrowth of consciousness. Life comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. So when we talk about in the image and likeness, we were created in the image and likeness of the creative source. It means that the image is the idea, is the image of thought, the picture. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And when we talk about creating, what you're creating within your awareness, what you focus your light of consciousness on, is what then starts to, you're giving energy to then bring into actualization.
Okay, so an example would be?
For example, we create, it starts with our desires. And your desires are coming from your soul, okay? Well, because there's okay. In some schools of thought, what it is this. We're the vessel. The vessel is also the soul. The desire is also the vessel. So soul, vessel, and desire is one. So you have to have a desire, meaning what you're calling on, what you're asking for. Yeah? And then that desire gives birth to a thought. That thought really is an image. That image then generates an emotion, or then what you line up to is the feeling of that image. And then after that comes action, right? Now, a lot of us think that the action is something physical. Actions ain't always physical. A thought and a feeling is a creative action. Yeah? So the example I'm giving here now is that if you hold a thought in your mind, which is an image, an idea of you desiring a blue car. Let's just simplify this, okay? You're thinking of a blue car. Before you were thinking of a blue car, you never even saw blue cars. Yeah? Now you start thinking of a blue car.
You see all blue cars.
You also going to notice blue cars.
Blue cars, yeah.
So what have you just done? You just lined up yourself with a frequency that is now making you aware of blue cars. Blue cars existed. It's not that they didn't exist before you saw them. But what you've done is tune yourself into a frequency, because everything is vibration, okay? We have to think this way. We have to realize everything is vibration, energy, and frequencies. Yeah? So when you then begin to tune into that frequency of a blue car by thinking about it, and then aligning that up with the feeling, because a thought generates a feeling. That feeling now is you're now feeling the frequency. Yeah? You're feeling a vibrational frequency of a state of consciousness that you are now lining yourself up with. So then the action is the actualization, or maybe the inspiration or the impulse. You may be coerced to move in a certain direction, to to pick up the phone and call someone, or just to walk into a particular store. You see, it can happen in any way, that action. But so when you focus your thoughts, thought is an image. Like I used to see someone who used to drive a certain Jeep, yeah, and prior to me seeing them, you know, dating them, I never used to see those type of cars. I never used to see those Jeeps. The moment I started dating them, afterwards, I'm seeing all these Jeeps, the same car this woman was driving.
There is some teachers who will tell you, they call it visualization.
Yeah.
They say that athletes can visualize themselves winning the race. You can visualize yourself being the winner, having that house, having that car. And once you visualize it, then you would go for exactly what you're saying. Then you can actually actualize it, make it a physical reality.
So all of that is a process taking place within consciousness, taking place within you. Yeah? So when you think, when you have a thought, yeah? When you change your thought, you change your state of consciousness. When you change your thought, you're actually like turning the tuner on your radio, right? Towards a different frequency. That different frequency represents a different state of consciousness. You have high levels of consciousness vibrations, and you have low levels of consciousness vibrations. Now, as Patrick rightly said, visualization. The thought is an image. Now, some people can't visualize. They would think, I can't see what it is that I want. You see what I mean? Or they can't see themselves doing that, exactly what it is that they desire to be doing. But the thing is you don't even have to see it, you see, because the feeling is the major anchor and the major operative power here. Because your feeling is what's letting you know what frequency you're on. Now, your emotions, the feeling is so important here because we have an emotional guidance system, and some of us may have heard that term being used in different, by different speakers talking on these spiritual principles. But it's very important because the feel is the first thing that we experience, as saying that a fetus, in a developing fetus, the heart is the first organ grown. The brain is nowhere in sight. So we're talking about feel, yeah?
Hold on, brother. Let's take this call here. Greetings.
Greetings.
Yes, dear. Oh, man.
Yes, man.
All right.
Good night and greetings to all your guests.
All right, dear.
Yes. And I'd like to say, what a brilliant, successful event on Sunday. And like the sister said, we were talking, we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago about our past, about the past events and, most recent events and, what the outcomes have been. And that's a perfect example what the sister talked about. So, congratulations on the event. And we like to encourage people to come out more to the future events of Find Your Voice, and it's very fulfilling and positive, because, I've met several people even on the day who had a real positive feedback about what they actually got from the event, when it's related to their financial, situation, how to improve it, whether it's their conscious level, absolutely, it was good, most definitely. But I know I know some of your guests are in a flow at the moment. I've got a question to ask some of your guests. And I know they're talking, down to Sam and Patrick and maybe even Janice, but specifically to Sam and Patrick. You're talking about consciousness and, about, feeling. I just wanted to ask you, for the listeners, and I think it's very important, and we like to do things practical. Have you guys, the actual things you're talking about, how have you used them? What have your experiences been, when you talk about visualization and being successful? Could you share us, the listener, your experience of using the techniques and being successful with it?
Yes, that's really good question. Now, what I will do, I will talk about my experience rather than any particular. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, my brother.
That's
yes,
a great question.
I'm here, my brother.
That's a great question because actually the experiential realm is really what we need to be into, because there's a lot of this, intellectual levels of like we approach spirituality almost like an academic course, and it is the experience that's going to make you know what you know. Yeah, and this is where the feel. To experience consciousness, different levels of consciousness, different levels of states of your own being, even feeling other people's vibrations to know what they're emitting from themselves. Yeah? Now, where I'm going with this is dealing with the experience. Basically, one time I was selling posters, okay? And it was about, trying to recondition or uncondition the subconscious mind with all the negative images that we had, right? So I was selling some of these positive poses, beautiful images and so forth. And when I was standing, I'm working outside, yeah? So when you're standing in a place outside, there's a lot of non-physical conscious thought forms that are moving around in the atmosphere. And if you're not careful, you can become susceptible to these thoughts, these ideas. You start to feel a certain way. You start thinking along certain lines. You're thinking, why am I thinking this? Why am I seeing this stuff? And people don't usually realize that they're picking up telepathically, okay, certain thought forms, yeah, or non-physical conscious entities. So anyway, what I did, I knew that I focused my thoughts on something that to line me up to the way I wanted to feel. Yeah?
Sure.
Because I needed to create a strong energy field around myself so these lower frequencies, these non-physical conscious entities cannot penetrate my field and start to influence me in some negative way. A lot of people don't realize how so much of this goes on. Yeah? Even amongst people you know. You see what I mean? Thought influences and so forth. Now, what I did, I had a word that conjured up a feeling, yeah, and that feeling, I was centering that feeling in my heart center. It wasn't about just memorizing having a word going around in my head. I had to feel this word of what it conjured up in me, which was the feeling of feeling very. It was love, basically, that authentic frequency of love, right? That I was generating within myself through this word I was chanting, to the point where I just had to think the word, remember it, and then the energy was just amplifying. Now, because I was standing there for hours, because I was working from about 9 in the morning till about 6 in the evening, yeah?
Sure.
So you can understand there's many different frequencies, okay? Out there. So I was now in this state where I now was becoming a vibratory beacon for the feeling, for the frequency I was emanating. Yeah?
Yeah.
So the longer I was there, the more this energy was vibrating, it was amplifying. And what I began to notice was that I would be aware that, like, a lot of people will come out of the train station, and when they came out, there was a particular vibration that all of them carried. And I realized that not all these people knew each other personally, right? But I could feel their energy field, okay?
Right.
So their energy, the energy was very chaotic. It was these people, it's like, they were peed off, the kind of thoughts and the emotions that they were carrying in themselves. I mean, you could feel it was discordancy, yeah? But these people were actually, they didn't know each other. It's like you just got, this whole thing about birds of a feather flock together? This stuff is real. It's about frequencies. And people don't even realize that they're on the same frequency of some other people in the same carriage, and they're actually all walking together, right? I even experienced this in Carnival. And then there was a calm after that. and then I could feel what was about to take place next. And this energy was more elevative. It was more higher. And then everybody came flooding out of the radio, came flooding out of the train station. And now this energy was more uplifting. This energy was more positive feeling. And then I even knew that out from this crowd, people were going to come towards where I was standing because they were attracted to the pictures. They were attracted to the images.
Sure.
And I could feel I knew they were going to come and buy. You see?
Yes.
Now, as I stayed into that frequency, because the longer you hold it, it amplifies. This is stuff I've experienced. This is stuff I know 100%. Yeah?
Sure.
Now, what happened was that I was selling these posters, 1 for 3, 2 for 5. £5. Yeah? So there was this bird that came, he approached me, and he saw a particular poster, and he was saying, yeah, man, yeah, how much is that thing? And I said, well, that one's 3. And he said, boy, I only have 2 on me, you know. Now, the thing is, someone else came to me before, and they didn't have enough money. And I was just like, yeah, it's okay. You know what I mean? You know, it's all right. You can have it. But with this particular person, I could feel in my heart, I knew their intention. I could read what they were thinking. I could read them, right? This was no words as such. You see what I mean? But what it is, this dude was trying to haggle me down, okay? He had the money, but he was trying to just, take advantage, all right? Now, the thing is, I could feel that. And because I knew that, I just stayed in my center, and I just stuck to the price. I just said, look, it's 3. The bread's giving it, no, man, I mean, man, he's giving all of that. But I was just, I knew what his intention was. And I wasn't attached to whether he bought the picture or not. I wasn't attached to it. And I was in this place, I was radiating this positive, I was feeling the frequency, authentically what we talk about love. I was feeling that vibrational frequency. Now, the bear walked away, and I knew he was going to come back. But I wasn't attached, right? And the bear did come back. He came back, had the other pound, and he looked at me, and he goes, bro, I like how you dealt with me, you know. I like how you dealt with me. So he was indicating that he knew that I knew. It was like, you know what I'm saying, what he was doing. You see? And it was a heart energy. It was just knowingness. I weren't thinking this through the mental process that we usually think is the only way of thinking. Okay? So I know this is not kind of, I know I haven't answered your question in the way of like, okay, this is a technique you can use. This is that you visualization, and this is what you manifest. Okay? Yeah? But what I was explaining was the fact that before I actually did this, before everything led up to what I just explained to you, there was somebody else I was working with, and they were telling me, man, you can't just stand there and just expect people to come to you, man. You gotta haggle people. You gotta tell them, you have to kind of bring people in and tell them this and tell them that in order to kind of get them interested to buy what you want. But I said, man, but look, man. People only listen. If you want something, you will buy it. I don't want to convince people to buy something because I don't feel good. Like I don't feel like I feel like I'm just trying to flip in, get them to buy something they don't want. Okay, right? So what I said there's another way of doing this. I know that storekeepers, they open their stores, they put out they put out their sign that the store is open, and they stand behind the counter. They don't stand out in the street giving it, come to my store, right? People will walk into a store because they want something. And if they don't find what they want in that store, they'll walk out and go find it somewhere else. You see what I mean? Yeah?
Yeah.
So
Can I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Can I interrupt here?
Go ahead.
Okay. I want to extend on your experience. And I want to leverage it into now. You've obviously experienced that. I want to bring it into a more recent terms. How much of the magic worked in the terms of most recently? Well, with terms of, not too long ago, for the listeners. Because, we're talking, that was one experience, but how consistency of the actual experience? How does that fit into like the here and sort of now and the most recently?
Well, I could answer that. Do you want Patrick to answer that for you as well?
Okay, let me just
both of you, but let me take you.
Let me just come in here. Most recently, okay, you were at the event on Sunday, Dougie's event.
Absolutely.
Okay, now visualization. Now, do you know what part I played on Sunday?
Yes, I do.
All right, okay, and let me add to this. Red5599.com, you'll see all the stuff I've done. Now, me working for Dougie on Sunday was actually a visualization, right? Dougie had many events before and what have you, but I've never worked with him in that capacity, so that was Sunday.
Sure.
The other gentleman I am currently working with is also Jammers, right? And that Jammers event, I also did the same thing. I was doing the sound reinforcement, which isn't something I normally do. That was also a kind of visualization. So I'm working with two brothers here who are beyond the normal, and for me to actually just enter their circle or their domain takes a lot of vibration, thinking, and visualization. Now, my history. I've worked with a lot of talented people, successful people, and businesses. I used to work for the Voice newspaper. I set up the Voice photographic department when they first started. I worked for Caribbean Times. I worked for one of the best nightclubs we had in London, Moonlighting, right? I was part of the backbone. I was the media manager when that word wasn't even invented then. I had photographs in the Daily Mirror, the Sun, News of the World, right? I used to leave the nightclub at 3 o'clock in the morning and actually go to the Daily Mirror, which was in Holborn, and had them develop the film. And by the following morning, you see some of the pictures inside of the newspaper. People like Muhammad Ali, people like Stevie Wonder. Actually, running on my site, my YouTube site, you'll see when Muhammad Ali came to Moonlighting, you'll see when Stevie Wonder judged the beauty competition. Also, while I was working at Moonlighting, I left on Saturday night, 3 o'clock in the morning, to go and set up the lights in Wembley, in the bus garage down there and that was for the Crystal Rose show. We were shooting the pilot, and if you remember, you go back a few years, the first black woman to have a TV show was Crystal Rose. She was mimicking Oprah Winfrey, and up to a few months ago, I've been working very closely with her. She's had a resurgence. That is just only a little of what I've been doing. The nightclubs from Night Moves, Dougie's nightclub, I managed and run that. I will pause there. Back over to my guy.
Well, James, do you want to answer the question as well?
Yes.
Could you repeat the question so James can interact with the what's the question you like James to ask? Is it about visualization and vibration and so forth?
Yeah, that's right.
You basically
go on.
Go on, James.
Go on.
No, it's asking you. The question is about visualization and vibration.
Yeah, I mean, in the practical terms for people, you know, because we're talking about the here and now, and it's good to know the techniques, or how do you actually do that? Do you do once? Do you do it every morning? Do you do it for a couple of weeks?
Basically, you said the word practice, yeah. If you look at the word practice, you see the word act in it, yeah? You pre-act something. So basically, anything that you want to do, you have to show your body what you want to do, how you show your body the result of the action. So if you want to be powerful, you have to visualize that, visualize yourself being powerful. And what happens is the thought process reprograms the energy in your system. So when you start to see yourself as running 10 miles now instead of 5, and you visualize that light is like a light switch in you. It sends a reconfiguration to your energy into your body. You'll even feel like you're even running already. You start to get heated, your blood will circulate, your heart will beat faster. So basically you're sending a signal, and really what exercise is, it's not a physical thing, it's what they do in the movies when they're in church. Exercise means calling out your body to do the action again. So basically, if you want to be powerful, you start walking around the room like you're Superman. You're sending a signal to your body that this is how I want to perform in future. The word present, look at the word present. It doesn't mean now. Pre means before. So the word present really means present. It means what you've done yesterday is who you are today. So if you want to stop smoking, you stop smoking today, and tomorrow it'll be a fact that you stop smoking. A fact is not something that has already been done. That's the lie they tell you. A fact is what you make happen. So anything you do today is a fact tomorrow, and you've present it to tomorrow. So you'll be that person that you program yourself to be today.
Okay.
Sure.
Dave.
Yes.
I just want to jump in there because I know Sam wants to finish what we were saying, but you see, what it comes down to is how you program your mind. Right? Everything comes to a program, right? And you see, the thing is this, right? Everything's down from the subconscious.
Yes.
So, if you give your subconscious a command that you're going to be successful, what you've done, you've programmed your mind. Yeah. Let me show you how vulnerable the mind is, right? If you watch a horror movie, even though it's not real, you still get frightened.
Sure.
That shows how vulnerable your mind is, right? So what you need to do, right, is on a subconscious level, is continuously program your mind, program yourself being successful. And not about seeing yourself successful, as Sam said, feeling. See, the key thing is feeling and see yourself being successful, right? See yourself dressed up being successful. You know, also what's very important, very, very important is language. You know, because you say that, oh, I'm going to be successful, you know, but you say, I am successful, what you've done, you've commanded yourself into existence by the feeling of being successful. You see? So everything comes down to the mind. You know, let me show you how powerful the mind is, right? I watched a program on TV, this is about a year ago, right? About I look upon them, these women, right? Some, I don't know which part of them from, Thailand or whatever. It's weird. You know what I mean? The women look nice, you know what I mean? They're going some beauty competition and so, right? So we look upon them and, you know, but look, what is it, the man, it's a rock stone, you know what I mean? it just blew me. You know, something just blew you. And these women look better than the women in the mile all over the place, right?
Yes.
But it just shows you, right? You can will your mind. You know, these people are men, you know, right? But they will their mind that they want to be like a woman. In fact, look better than the woman out there. You know, but you show how powerful your mind is. See? Right? So what it is, right, it's about how you program your mind from a subconscious level. You know? So if you if you continuously program your mind every single day for 30 days, right, you can will yourself into to be successful. Language is very, very important. Sam, you want to come in?
Yeah.
But what I just said to Sam,
yeah, I mean, you know, there are different ways, there are methods, and people are going to have to find their unique take on this, you see, because with myself, what I was going to conclude was that, you know, I earned more money, I listened about 3 times more than what this brother who was telling me that I should have done it his way, was asking me to do. And all I did was hold a vibrational frequency that I felt, I knew how I wanted to feel. I didn't really do a lot of wordy things. I did it on the spot, you know, when I worked out, well, how am I going to do this? You see what I mean? You know, how am I going to, you know, I know there must be another way for me to, you know, do this work here rather than doing it the way this other brother was telling me I needed to do it. So what ended up happening, the vibration I became, the feeling I became,
Sure.
drew to me more people who wanted to buy what I had, yeah? Right? Than the other brother. I must have earned about 350 around that time. This brother must have earned about 80 pounds. Okay?
Sure.
Right? So through that experience, I know that the feeling is the key. Feeling is the key. Because we can think, hey, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm magnificent. Or, you know, you have some people that say, I'm beautiful. But they don't feel beautiful. They don't feel magnificent. They don't feel powerful. It's a thought that has not generated the frequency to match it yet. And it's the feeling with the thought that empowers, now sets out that energy field around you. Okay? So your thoughts directing the energy.
So you're talking about the feeling to be successful. So you got to see yourself being successful and feel yourself being successful. Seeing yourself, you know, for example, if you're going to be you want to be a teacher, right? See yourself being a teacher, but feel yourself and smell yourself, you know, that you're successful. So it's all about feeling.
I would inject here to say also that, you see, our creations are more powerful when they're coming from the core of your being. Because there's something that we can say we want, we desire something. I prefer the word desire, right? At a core level. And then on the all right, some people will want something, right? On a core, they'll desire something at a core level, yeah? But what they want, let me put it this way. Sometimes we think we want something, right? On the surface level, we may want it, but on the core level, we don't. Yeah? And what we may want on the surface level is totally different to what we feel, what we actually do want at the core level. Yeah?
Sure.
So sometimes we can have a conflict, like you're putting two frequencies out there, creating an interference field. Yeah?
Sure.
And this is what slows down things happening. Yeah? You with me? And plus, when you're dealing with when we're talking about, because we're creators, your thoughts and your emotions, these are feelings, these are creative tools, these are creative actions. When you send out a thought, you generate a magnetic field, which is what you feel with. That's a creative action in itself. A lot of us believe that an action has to be some physical thing you got to do. Yeah? When action is as much as sitting down and visualizing something, as someone says. But you see, when as Dougie was saying, and Patrick, when we're talking about visualizing, the vision is what you have to feel. If you have no feeling in it, then the visualization don't work. Yeah? So now, when we deal with the core self, your soul, your core, your heart, your center, these are more powerful manifestations because they're in alignment with who you are, not what you think you need to have to be looked upon in a certain particular way. Because a lot of things that people may desire is coming from the surface. Yeah? So they're not able to kind of generate that feeling, yeah, to which is the power running through the cable to draw to them what they desire or bring themselves to what it is. Because you have to clear out your mind from a lot of the negative feelings, the negative emotions and thoughts which get in the way of the positive manifestations.
Let me just jump in here. Patrick, jump in, Patrick. I know you had the mic for a little while.
Okay, my friend, I'm going to give you one exercise. This is worth £1 million. I'll tell you what that exercise is. This is specially for you, right? Every day, do one thing towards your goal in life. I'm going to repeat that. Every day, just do one thing towards that goal in life. Even if it's just picking up a newspaper and reading about it. Even if it's just about going on the internet and searching about it. Even if it's phoning up Brother Dougie or any one of our friends here, Jammers and my man here, and just ask them a question. How do I get from A to B? I'm going to leave you that. Brother Dougie?
Yeah, I just want to go into the thing about visualization and the feeling that also you have to be clear. I'll give it a good example. You know, you have a sister who said that they want a man, right? And they can visualize this man here, and probably feel, the feeling and so forth, right? But when the man come, right, what kind of man you have? It could be a dumb, blasted abuser. It could be all kind of, one of them rubbish man, as I say, right? Because what it is, right, you weren't clear. So you have to be clear what kind of man you want. I mean, for example, do you want a man who's, I'm making an assumption here that most people want a man who's ambitious, who's hard working, who could protect you, and who's on a certain level of consciousness or whatever, But you have to have these. You have to be clear, because you're sending. You see, what Simon's saying, right? Right? You're sending signals to the universe. That's what you do. It might sound crazy. You're sending signals to the universe, right? And and you have to be clear what signals you're sending out.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And that's right. And it will come back. So you have to be quite clear, because this thing's not no clear business. You see what I'm saying, right? Because we do it anyway. We visualize things. When we, you know as well as man and man, when we go out, right, man one look woman and all them things there, you can visualize. You know what I mean? You got dance for a woman and you can take a number and we do it anyway. But another level now. This is a science behind it. And this is what science bringing to the table. Sorry, Uncle, what I just said that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. You see, with that, there's a difference in manifesting from the heart and different from manifesting from the mind. Yeah.
Oh, so that's powerful, man.
There's a difference in manifesting from the heart to manifesting from the mind. Yeah.
Right.
Now, just to reiterate on what Dougie just said, there are a lot of women as well as men that talk about, they're looking for their soulmate, they want this partner and particular thing. And they will talk about their demands, I want a man to be this way, he's got to have this height, and he's got to be conscious in this way, and he's got to, and they may say, that they're hard to handle, and they need a man who know how to handle them, and, the dude has to have all of these requirements, okay? But what happens here is that the vibration the woman or the man is putting out is not even matching the quality of what they want to attract. Right? Sure. So if you want someone to be caring and tender towards you, are you putting out that vibrational frequency? Are you a resonant frequency of that which you're asking, what you're putting out and saying you desire? You see what I'm saying? Because the way the energies work, it's like attracts like. It's called resonance. When you have a frequency that is similar to, if you're dealing with a frequency, you have a frequency and somebody has a frequency similar to yours, then what happens? You have sympathetic resonance. Yeah, that gets set up, and it becomes effortless and easy in how things come to you. When you manifest through the mind, you may get what you want. You may get what you want, but you're going to get the drama with it. Because if it comes from the egoic wanting based on, because some people want, and they're not looking at what they're creating, how is what you desire going to be good for you in all life? Just simplify it in that way. A lot of them don't think that. They're just thinking what they personally desire for their own personal satisfaction and their comfort, okay? And when you think and draw things to you in that way from the mind, you're going to create the opposite too.
Let me take it to another level now. That is that also you can look at the ego, right? And also you can look at the masculine and feminine energy now, because even you just said it, right? That some women will say that they want a man to handle them. You see my deal,
we'll get a man who will handle them.
You see? But also you gotta understand that, that if they've got a certain kind of energy, like a masculine kind of energy, right, where they just want to be dominant, yeah, what's happening now, when energy come together, no man like to be treated like a boy or be manhandled, because of his energy. And it's not whether it's right or wrong. You gotta understand that A woman is more powerful in her feminine energy, right? Now then, you made a point earlier on. You're coming from the what? The heart than the head. Yes. So what's more important? The heart. Yes. And woman's more powerful with her feminine energy from the heart. You see my dear brethren, right?
Sure.
You see the reasoning. See the reasoning, Bill.
Well,
It's very important that people understand this because, like you said, some people, are trying different techniques, but they don't understand, the reasons why they may be sabotaging themselves and it's not actually happening. And, there's some very, very good points from your guest, like from the heart, being, coherent. Patrick saying about, leading, doing one thing every day, to your goal. I think it's very important because I think that there's a lot of information out there and people don't always understand why it's not working or
You're
people
correct,
get
brother.
to lose. So hopefully this could empower people to really understand. It's the simpler the thing is, hopefully people will take up the reins and take a step, and find out, I could actually do this. This is something I could cope with my daily mind and condition ourselves, and being disciplined to the steps we need to take, and all this information is brilliant because you're bringing it into one book, one book here, which I'm literally hearing,
Yeah. And it's a good question you've asked because you see, how to know what we're doing, because we can talk about vibration. What is vibration? How do I raise my vibrations? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I elevate my consciousness rather than, we need to elevate our consciousness, but how do you do it? How am I going to know what's the indicator of what I am vibrating on? Yeah,
but
this is where the feelings are very important. But we got to prime our mind and body from a lot of the negativity, because like if you want to draw positivity to you, you got to kind of prime your mind out of the negative, because what you're being a container of.
When we said,
you're going to draw to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a lot of us would say, I want positive experiences, but you're not containing positive energy because we're having holding on to a lot of negative thoughts, which then generate the negative feelings. And therefore you're going to draw towards you. If you hold on to that feeling long enough and not change it, then you're drawing to yourself the equivalent of what you're feeling. So if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling positive, you see, when you're feeling good, when you're feeling positive and expansive, it's important to know that you're in alignment with your real self, because your real self naturally feels great. We've been training ourselves into certain vibrations that negate that goodness, that positive, powerful feeling of being in a healthy state. You see what I mean? Of being.
Right. My learned guest here, and it's called the law of attraction, right?
Yes,
and what my learned friends is telling you about, you've got to set yourself up right. And once you set yourself up in your mind, your body and soul, then you would be attracted, or you would attract what you so deserve. But if you haven't set yourself up right, then you'll get all the wrong things.
But what I'm saying, because you see, the thing is this, right? That from what Simon is saying, right, is that where the work comes from. Everything comes down to self. So you've got to do a lot of work of raising your vibration, and raising your vibration, it's taking simple steps. Anchoring yourself, breathing. For me, it's going in the sun, take off your shoes, looking in the sun, eating more healthy, just simple steps to raise your vibration. Once you raise your vibration, right, because you got to look at all the negative things what you hold on to, right, to track the positive vibration. See, because when people say that they want this and that, but if you've got a lot of negative beliefs, because you attract certain things to you, but if you've got a lot of negative beliefs, right, you know, it's not going nowhere because you've already terminated that energy will come together. You know, you see. So the work comes down to, as Sam was saying, that, I mean, if you're saying that you want a loving and a caring and right? But are you that? Are you caring? Are you loving?
That's right.
Right? See?
You got to give out what you desire.
That,
You got to give. You got to give. This is what it says. What you want, you got to give it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's more on an energetic level. You got to give that energy that you want to attract. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's why I said there's two levels of where we could be creating from: the core level or the surface level. And what you want on the surface level is totally different to what you want. You'd actually desire at the core.
Core level. That's right.
So the core is really where the authenticity is. You see? Because why do I want something? Why? Why do I want that? Yeah? And the truth of the matter is that behind everything it is that we actually desire, it's not even the physical thing, right? It's not even it's not the physical thing or the place or the person as such, you know. It's actually the feeling, the way you're going to feel, the way you feel by having that thing, how you're going to feel. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So really what it is that we actually desire is the light of the Creator, the light of universal consciousness, because that's the light that is in everything that we're seeking to draw to ourselves so we can experience it. You see what I mean? You know, when we say I want a lot of money, it's not really the money you want. It's the experience that the money is going to give you the opportunity to have. Yeah. You see?
Sure.
So it's what we're actually, when we focus on the essence of what we want, then things are more clearer. But when we're thinking on a periphery and we're just we're you're coming from this place of I want this because I don't have it. Get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, you have to have in order to be able to draw to you in the physical actualization what it is that you're vibrationally aligning with. This is why the feeling and the heart is so essential, and why the thoughts that turn into feelings has to be clear. And yes, it is seemed as the law of attraction. This is what we hear. I'm not really about the law of attraction. It's about the principle of vibration. Yeah? Because they're taking these principles and making sub-principles and sub-principles of this and sub of that and sub of this in order to kind of like keep you coming back for more, because they're not just giving you the fullness. You see what I mean? Now, it's the law of vibrations. Yeah? And it simply is lining up with that frequency, yeah, that you desire to draw to you. You with me?
Yes.
Yeah? So when we talk about law of attraction, well, you're dealing with polarity, because what is the opposite of attraction? I'm not, you know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying, yeah? I'm not dissing what my brother is saying, because I mean, there is that drawing, that bonding, but the magnetic energy has a twofold nature to it. It bonds and rejects. You with me, my brother?
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, it's good to hear the sides, about, and I think this is why we're having this discussion, about the meaning of, about the theories, about things, law of attraction, law of vibration, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, I think in the whole, the information is definitely valid, and I think you guys are sterling example of what could be achieved, And, more recently, Jammers wanted to get this book out.
Yeah.
And he's got it done. And it shows what can be done. Patrick with, run his business. Dougie, he's running his business. I've seen you, Siayome, when you used to have this magical drum, beautiful, So, it's perfectly example. And, so it's good to hear about, the experience of yourself and, really, passing it down to people who are listening and thinking, God, there's something I really love to do. I like to achieve this goal. How do I actually get started? I think, and it's the starting point for everybody to get started, how they apply this information, you know?
Well, everything comes down to personal growth.
Yeah.
It's just growing and learning, you know? Growing and learning every single day. And that's what it comes down, personal growth.
Yeah, because, you know, to come every week, Dougie, and says, all right, I'm going to put this radio station, put this radio program on. You know, it takes a lot of, you know, motivation and belief and heart. And you could easily get disillusioned by saying, oh, but you see the qualities, you see the success, you see the feeling, you see the vibration, you see the outcomes it, you know, makes to people's lives. And, you know, I could extend that to everybody who's in your studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, because it's 25 to 4. I'm going to take 2 more calls. So, Dave, listen, I'm just because people want to phone in as well, yeah?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
again,
well,
give.
Always fantastic program, and I big up all your guests in the studio because, you know, I think it's absolutely, you know, mind-blowing, you know, nourishing, you know, to get all this information out, you know, and try to break it down into simple terms to get people to think about, you know, how could they actually, you know, use some of the information, because it's actually the practical bit, you know, the actual doing bit, you know, like, again, which is very important. Where do I take it from when I come off this phone, or when I come from an event? You know, how do I actually get started? All right?
Okay. They're big up the status, yeah?
Yes, respect.
Yo, thank you, Dave. Thanks for the question, man.
Thanks for the
Good to
question.
open it up as you did.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
then.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, guys. Yeah?
Yes,
Yeah, man. Good
All right.
times.
Good night. Yeah, good night. Yeah.
All right. So I'm just watching the time. It's 25 to 4, and we want to take 2 more calls. So the live link number is 07960 239 493. So we're talking about spirituality, the vibration, energy, anything you want to ask or contribute. And earlier on, we did have a sister who was a solicitor talking about tenants and landlords, etc. But you know, we're reasoning here, and also if you're at the event Sunday, if you want to give your critique, feel free to do that. And inside house we do have jammers. Also we have brother Patrick, who's a technician. He's everything, you know what I mean? Everything. I want to bring James in the mix. James, let people know about your book, please, because I don't think you've mentioned your book, where you can get your book from, etc.
Yeah, the book's called Etymology, the Roots of Words, the Origins of Script, and it just basically gives you all the different types of language in one place. I don't think that's been done before, and it shows the hieroglyph, how the words develop from the hieroglyph to the Phoenician alphabet, to the Greek alphabet, to the English language. It also breaks down some of the Egyptian interpretation of the phonetic from the hieroglyph as well, and it gives you basic steps to the working practice of the hieroglyph, which is a perfect action through perfect thought. So it gives you a basic interpretation of the meaning of the letters and how you can apply it in a practical way. Yeah, so that's basically the book. Is available. You can text me on 07497 069702. Once again, that's 069. No, sorry, 07497 069072. You can text me on there for the book. Also, we'll be starting to run lessons on etymology. And also you'll be able to, as well, we're improving your art of speaking by coming to the Speakers Club, which we'll be running the 24th, Sunday the 24th of September. We'll be running the Speakers Club, so we put it into practice. You know, we developed our own theories and we put it into practice, and I'm a working example of what you can do when you put your vibration in a higher frame of thought. You magnetize the atmosphere, and the things that you want to happen, you attract them to you. We have the power of magic. That's the problem, is that we have the power of magic, but we're following a system or a set of people that do not have the power of magic. They're running off a lack. So basically, you're running off a lack. You're not going to be able to bring your own things into existence. For instance, when you're looking for a partner, you're looking for a part to add to what the lack to add to the lack that you have. So when you get the full partner, you might get the money side, but you've also got the devious, the manipulative, the tree, and a big and a disease.
John, we've got someone on the line here. Go, James.
Sorry.
Greetings, good morning, good night.
Okay then.
Good evening.
Can we just talk up a little louder, please? We just about hear you.
Sorry?
No, that's better. Yeah, just want to talk a bit louder.
Hi, sis.
All right. Good evening, brothers, or good morning, brothers, I should say, Siayome and Jammers.
Hi.
And
Simon, Patrick, and Brother Dougie.
Patrick, yes, that's
Siayome.
Anyway, greetings to all.
Greetings.
So I'm not leaving anybody out. And thank you for the reasoning and the understanding and breaking down consciousness and the vibration of visualization. Jammers, when you were writing, this question goes to Jammers, but then it's open up to any of the other brothers. When you were writing your book,
yeah,
did you visualize how you wanted it, or as you went along you were visualizing each chapter, or was it that you already had it in mind and it was set in your mind as to how you want it to be, and then followed the pattern in which you visualized for your outcome?
No, basically, I really running blind, really, tell the truth. It's just like, I've just gone beyond anything that because basically I'm not a writer. I didn't know nothing about words. So it's just basically your curiosity and your questioning becomes an obsession based on the situation that I was in. It just became an obsession that I need to find out what words are, and I'm not resting till I find out. And if I don't find out, I'm not going to rest till I find out, or I'll find somebody who knows, or find a book. So it's like when you're putting out that amount of energy, you start attracting certain people around you. Information just seems to come to you as well, because as was discussed earlier, when you tune yourself to find something, it starts to come into your vision, and it starts to come in your thought, it starts to come into your sight. You know, if you see the number 7, you start to see, the number plates with 7, or there's 7 people in the room. So as soon as you sort of tune into that frequency, it pulls things in. And what you see, we should be trained by our young ones, because our young ones don't stop questioning. And basically, an answer is just a response. It's not the solution. So we need to get 50 or 60 it's like a pound coin. So if you've only got one answer in your pocket, you can't do much with it. So we need to just keep asking so much questions till you're rich with the questions that you've asked for. And that's basically it. I've just created an environment where I was talking things that people didn't know where I was getting information from, and they said I should put it in notes. Then I had so much notes that people said I should put it in a book. Then I wrote the first book, but then I wanted to prove a point. So basically I wrote about that, anything that you put your mind to, it manifests into reality. So through me being able to put all the words together, I noticed I wasn't able to speak the words. So I could do it privately, but not in front of a group of people. So I created like a club where we could train ourselves to speak. So just out of the fact of not being able to do something, manifested the ability to do something. That is the key, really. Anything you really can't do, that is the key to making you being able to do it. So it's just really on this one, I'm just a passenger. I have to say I'm just a passenger, because I was in a van. All I know, I was in a van. It was just maybe a life or death situation, a mental life or death situation. And then something switched on my on switch, and I've just been operating on a frequency beyond whatever I thought would be possible. So I'm just on this one. I'm just a part of the message, and I'm just on a journey. I don't know how it's going to end up. So on this one, I can't give you a formula. I'm just part of, but I'm enjoying the ride anyway. Because when I was small, maybe it's this. I was always like the superheroes, So so maybe that's what I am now. I am the superhero that I always liked. Thank you, sis. I don't think that answers your question, but what's your feedback, Quinn?
No, in some ways did answer my question.
Yeah, it's gone beyond me. Tell the truth, it's gone beyond me. And the thing about it is, I just say, basically, we've been given a set of rules. Yeah, we've been given a set of rules that this is how things are. But in the reality, a lot of the essence of this is we have the power to do anything we can do. Anything we do is possible once you can control your breathing, how you stand, how you walk, and your feelings. The feelings bypasses the addiction of the words, because a word is an addiction that we've been given. That the words is what limit us to our capacity. When you've got feelings, you go beyond any words. We're operating at a position of lack, where we have everything we need inside us, but that's why we're falling in love with something, because love means possession. It means the ownership of something that you feel you haven't got. That's what love really means. Love is amour. We are the mores that they fall in love with. Love is something that they see is important. We are the things that they're important on us. Love is based on ownership. We were the ones who they shipped over. So their love is based on what we have already. They're running off a lack, so they're running off a possession of something to try and fulfill the part that they haven't got. We have all the parts. We can do anything we want to do just by breathing, walking, standing, and feeling it into a reality. That's the power we have. And I'm an example of that. Thank you.
Hey, sister, what do you think of that? You're still there? Is this Sister Grace?
I am.
Sister Grace, so how do you feel with that question, that answer, that reply? Quite thorough.
You'll have to say the last bit again, because I was thinking about what you were saying.
Okay. The last bit you said, that we have to be the walking...
Right, because the vibrations, we have a different vibration because we come from a place of energy to the people who have come with a lack of energy. So when they say a sound, the sound applies to them, but the opposite applies to us. So when they say the word love, and you look at where it comes from, the origin of the sound, you see amour. We are the mores. So the things that they want is what we have already. Importance. The root word of importance is what you've imported. Ownership. That's what you've shipped over that you didn't have in the first place. So the people with the lack want to possess things that we have already. We have them already because we come from the power base. We put out NIG, which is made negative. So basically, just by breathing, standing and walking, we have examples like Usain Bolt, Muhammad Ali, even Bruce Lee. You just have to master your basic elements, which is your breathing, your standing and your walking. You become more conscious of your environment, and then when you pull the feelings into existence, you're capable of, you magnetize your atmosphere, and everything that you want will happen for you.
Okay, so that means then you're in line with the universe and everything else, because if you're not in line at the time when you're manifesting, it wouldn't happen.
That's right, because there's a Kemetic principle called Dehuti, I think. Dehuti, I got it right. So Dehuti or Dehuti. So basically, this means you have a duty to what you're tied to, and you're tied to the earth, as we explained earlier. You're tied to the earth through your heart, through your ear. Nature is your tie. As long as you function with nature, anything you want is possible. They do not function with nature. They function, the God that they call themselves, if you look at this, the God that they call themselves is Zeus. Zeus. There's no such word as God in Latin. It's Zeus. So Zeus is, you're due to what you see. They based on, because the first time they came into contact us, they traveled by the sea. So they function off what they see. We are tied to the earth, which runs through our heart. That's why we can function off feeling. They're tied to what they see. And once you follow what they see, then they can seduce you, reduce you, and induce you. So this is the key factor, is we just have to run off what we can do and don't be seduced by the juice that they give you with the juice, because even the juice is artificial juice and they make the artificial official. So just stay real within your heart and you'll produce your own heart and be smart. I hope I broke that down for you and broke what they tried to do and tore it apart. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just love the way you have with words. So yes, I'm listening closely to what you said. So, all right. Siam spoke about the conscious, and it's a feeling, and it's related to the heart.
Yeah.
Did he say? It was him, yeah.
Yes.
So when, in relation to that, when you say it's to the heart, how does that affect us with relationships when we're getting into relationships and choosing our partners?
Wow. I mean, what I would say, in addition to what Gemma has said, the last part of what he was emphasizing is that we have to look within ourselves, because the universe is within you. Everything that's taking place is not actually happening outside. It's happening within you, because that's where we experience what we would call love, or where we're experiencing departure, missing someone. Wherever we are the subjective I that's having the experience. Yeah. So when it's you're looking for, all right, we're either looking for something that we feel that we lack within ourselves, or we are looking to whom we can share what we are already filled with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. So one is going to make, so if we're motivated by lack, then, you're not putting out the right energy, and it's like neediness, and you may actually draw somebody to you who's very needy, more needy than you are. You see what I mean? Because it's based on the insecurities and so forth. But how we manifest from the heart, if we were going to say a lover, well, we have to be that lover first. We have to, because everything is a vibrational frequency. If I say abundance, what does abundance feel like? If I say I want a partner, how will I feel with this partner? That making sense? Yeah? So,
can I just inject there? Basically, as well, this is based on what he's saying about the heart. Everything they give us is based on ink, and it makes what you think. So what Sign is saying is take away your thinking and bring it into the feeling, bring it into the heart. So when they give you an abstract like love, you put it into a reality with the feeling and imagine what it means to be real, and that inactivate the reality rather than the ink that makes you think. And that to be used, so you're not held by the pen and the ink and be sentenced by the ink. So bring the feeling down into your heart, and when you put the heart and the spirit together, the spirit is the heart is the ab, and the spirit is the air, and you'll be able to do what you want to do by breaking the spell. Over to you, Sion.
How you feel with that, Sister Grace?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I mean, the heart center, and we're not talking about the physical heart that's pumping on the left side. We're talking about the heart center is the balance point between the upper, higher aspects of ourselves and the so-called lower aspects of ourselves. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So the heart is what balances as above, so below. And the heart is the gateway to the subconscious, because the subconscious is feeling. And this is where we deal with the feminine aspect that complements that masculine, which is the active dynamic power.
Can I just cut in there? When you say, I'm saying intelligence, your heart is the gateway to your intelligence. So when you feel what somebody's saying, you can say that person don't really mean what they're saying, because your intelligence and your heart has picked up the vibration beyond the words, and you intelligently act rather than acting off the mind, lust, love. So.
Yeah, because you're dealing with consciousness intelligence when we're dealing with this higher intelligence beyond the mindscape, because the mind is really a bundle of thoughts that we keep repeating thinking, and then it turns into our beliefs, and then it also creates false identities that we're identifying with that we then want to make as real. But the thing is, as we go back to the heart is the connection to the universal consciousness, which is one of the same. When you realize that your consciousness is the center of universal consciousness and one of the same with it, then this separation and division in the way we perceive ourselves becomes less of an interference, because we're beginning to identify and line up with the very source of our being. So the subconscious the thing we have to also remember is that the subconscious does not direct. The subconscious is directed. Yeah? So how the subconscious is directed is by what is felt to be true, and what it doesn't even mean that it has to be. It could be a lie, it could be a belief, but if you feel it to be true, then the subconscious will just grow it for you. You see what I mean? It will draw to oneself the necessary energy, material, until it begins to actualize into what we say physical manifestation.
So hold on. So an example would be if you watch a horror movie.
Well, you see, the thing is not just a horror movie. It's like you watch a movie and you're going to feel a certain energy based on the different scenes and how they set it up. I mean, it's, everything's tension, and it's the music. It's the sound effects, all of this. But what it's trying to convey to you is a particular idea. So if the idea is a fear and you feel that, then that impresses upon your subconscious. If it's an idea of feeling strong and powerful and you feel that, then that's impressing upon your subconscious.
Right. I see what you're saying there. But the reason why I say a horror movie, even though it's not real, you still get frightened based on what? The feeling you experience in watching that movie.
If you're identifying with it, that's it. If you're not objective, because see, when I watch a movie, I'm decoding it all the time. I don't just watch a movie unconsciously, like how we may have done that before or did do that before.
Yeah, but those are not conscious, unconscious.
But it's just being aware that the movie is a movable imagery of conveying an idea to you. So everything in the movie is symbolic, and it's being played out in a way to convey an idea. And if you accept the idea, you're being sold.
You're in dear trouble. And I just like to say that we come from our Menelin. That's our native spirit. Our native spirit is, you are Menelin, you have a native spirit with the sun. We are living in an alternative. We have to recognize we're living in an alternative environment, and it will alternate our spirit by where we're in this sound and the vibration that's been given off here. Because this vibration is based on a lack. It's based on love. It's based on lust. It's based on ownership and possession. So when we're in this environment, to function, we have to recognize we're in an alternative environment, so we have to counter the alternative environments, or we're going to be altered. Our native won't recognize our native spirit and won't be able to have so much vibration that we can give it out without losing anything. That's the problem when you give out something now and you feel you've lost something. You take something of somebody else and you've possessed in them. So we have to get out of this harmony that they've put, because we run off vibration. They're giving us harmony based on money. They're trying to harm you with their harmony.
You see, the words, this is where we have to go beyond these words into the feeling, the frequency of that which is it that we want to align with, because we can get confused with the words. The words are a confusion, you see, and the thing is, what goes beyond the words is the energy you feel. So
I'll have to counter that, because when you've got the root of the word, you go beyond the confusion, because frequency means you do it often. So basically, when you get to the root, you get to the reality. Emotion means putting something emotion outwardly. Confusion means when you go against something, you fuse with it and you go against your own self. So once you get to the etymology, you get to the truth. And once you get to the truth, you see inside the truth is the word turu. They dislike you. So everything that they've done here is to dislike you. Once you recognize the environment you're in is set against you as a dislike, as we said earlier, you can see past the dislike, you can see over the dislike, and you can overcome.
You see, again, we got to return to ourselves, because, there has been a statement that has been said that the kingdom of heaven is within you, yeah? Haven is to rise up, anyway. And you've got the source of life is already impressed itself within us as souls. I think the trouble we have is focusing so much on ourselves as being physical flesh and blood. It's outdated information. How we perceive ourselves make it difficult for us to realize ourselves, because we're perceiving ourselves as what we're not. It's like, it's natural. Our true self, our natural self feels great. Okay, when you're feeling well, when you're feeling good. But the thing is that we don't realize that our guidance system, we've already have it on board. We don't remember how to listen to ourselves. So when we're feeling good, that's how you know through your guidance system that you're in alignment with yourself, your natural self. When you're not feeling good, it means that your thoughts, you're identifying with more of the egoic emotional thinking, and then you're out of alignment. But then you're lining up with a frequency that you really don't want to draw to you, because whatever you line up with is what you draw to you.
And sorry. She's going to stay on the line?
Yes, I'm still on the line.
All right, I'm just conscious of time still, right? Because we want to take one more call after you, yeah?
All right. Let me hang up and I'll continue listening.
Yeah, okay then. And then
I just wanted to add to what Simon said. The frequency is based on the words, because the frequency in the words that they're giving you is designed to shut you down. Listen what they say, mind. So that means don't use it, or be careful how you use your head. They're calling it a mind. So basically they call it a mind. What happens in the mind, it gets exploded. So the same words that they're giving you, that to name yourself with, is what's putting you in trouble, because subconsciously your subconscious doesn't hear the letters, it hears the sound. So they're telling you to mind your own mind. They're telling you words that's keeping you left behind with the sound and the frequency in the word.
Okay. I shall continue listening. If I wanted your book, where would I get it from?
Right, you can text me on my phone number 07497 06. So 07. See, I need to control my breathing.
One second. You got a pen there, sis?
No.
He's going to give you the number. Do you want the number?
What, for the book?
No, he's going to text you. What you going to do? Text your number to her, yeah?
Well, you can catch this recorded on YouTube, so I'll say the number out on air, and then you'll be able to pick it up from the Speakers Club channel or Dougie's Find Your Voice channel. So
hold on, James. Do you want to give her your number? Have you got a pen, my sister? Let's get that straight.
No, I haven't.
You haven't got a pen? Okay then. Can you want to give you the number? That's why I'm just.
Well, if I give it out live on there now, which you can pick it up when we send out the recording on the channel, on the Find Your Voice channel or the Speakers Club channel.
Okay.
Yes.
We did ask where you get the book from. He was giving the text you the number. Okay. Alright. Is there any way she can get on the book or?
Yeah, as I said, if I give out the number right now, all she's got to do is go to the Speakers Club channel or Find Your Voice channel, listen to the recording here, and she'll get a copy of the book.
Okay. I will do that.
Yeah. Okay. So the number is 07497 069702. Once again, to get the book, just simply text your name to 07497 069702, and I'll get in contact with you and get you the book at a discount as long as you mention Find Your Voice.
Okay then.
Thank you. Can I just ask, has Siayome or Patrick written a book, or are they in the process of doing any books for us to read?
I've done a lot of writing, but I haven't written a book. And I've been asked so many times brother, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And the thing is, it's like, I'm not one to just sit down and say, yeah, I'm going to write a book. Yeah. But what I am working on at the moment is to get a transcriber, because you have books that are also written from live lectures, yeah? And I'm a brother who, when I start flowing, and when, depending on what's being activated, what level of info is activated in me through what I'm being asked, then what starts to flow through is just living. And what it is that when that's being recorded and someone's transcribed that, then I feel my book will come through that. But for sitting down to say I'm going to write a book, I've been asked to do this for quite a while. but that's not enough. I don't feel that motivation in that way to do it. But you know, I write though, and I feel, and I do my music. So the lyrics and the words in what I'll be conveying in my songs is another way of writing a book, but it's gonna be all on record, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick here. I haven't written a book. I've motivated people to write a book. You can see some of my publication. I do video photography and some internet pages. You could catch it up on Red 5599. Just Google that. A whole heap of stuff will come up.
Oh yeah, what I would add to that, because as Patrick reminded me, I have contributed to books. So I've contributed to other people's books, and quite a lot of what I had to say actually made up a lot of some of their books. So I have done that, but not a lot of people know that, where that info that is in the book that they're dealing with has come from. Some do. So yeah, I've contributed to writing other people's books, but I have not written like my own book in the way that people look at books being written. But it could be coming soon, but it may be through a transcribed way of getting that book out. You know, I'm just writing what I've said and putting it into good what you call it, punctuation and all of that. You were going to say?
I know. I was just thinking, if you let me just get in a minute, that it's important that the knowledge that you are sharing and the level of understanding or overstanding of words and the importance it plays in our thinking and the outcome of our lives needs to be documented. So that future generations, even though after a few years it becomes obsolete, it still plays an important part in our development as we move forward, because we can look back at certain things and then make the alterations as we move forward.
Yeah, I hear that. We feel that.
Well, I've written 3 books, but as well, I think you need a team as well, because when you're creative, you need someone behind the scenes who gives you time limits, gives you restrictions, and I have to say I'm very lucky in that department. That a good friend of mine, that's his. So basically, you've got the set and you've got the hero. So I'm the creative spirit, and I've got the other person who sets everything and puts it in order for me. So it enables me to be creative and produce the product. So it's good to have a team around you to do that. But there's one thing I've got to say, that from out of this discussion, there's one word that we have to eliminate from our vocabulary, and that's a key to getting to where you need to be, and that's the word self. Do for self, be myself, because self means you're not in connection with the full power of the energy of the universe. So you're not doing it by yourself. You've got the power of the whole universe in you. So throw that word out. From today, throw the word self out of your vocabulary.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a good note for me to say my good night or good morning, Don.
Okay. Okay then. So again, my sister, give thanks. See? All right. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now, we're gonna use our social discretion at this point here. I want to thank all those who contributed to phone in, contribute on the show, made a contribution. Again, I want to thank our guests. I want to thank the sister, the queen who was here earlier on, who's our solicitor, and she's looking to work with our people in the community. So she did give a number earlier on, and she will be back here in a couple of weeks' time to assist our people. You know, I want to big up Jammers. Jammers was speaking at the event Sunday gone, talking about points of words. Also want to big up Patrick, who was one the IT and the PA. And also we do have Siayome, you know, who has done a lot of work in the whole thing about vibration, spirituality. You know, he's also a poet, you know, he's a musician, and, you know, as you said, you know, he was on Top of the Pops in the early days, You know, in the I think it reached to the top 10 or 15 or something like that. Wait, what I say? Well, let people know, man. Let people talk to the people, man. Talk to the people that make people know about your status.
I mean, this is what it was in the 90s, but yeah, I did 2 tracks that went hit the charts, the top 10, and one was number 7, and one was number 1 in USA Billboard charts, and yeah, you know, and I did what you call Top of the Pops. If you go on YouTube, you could find me there. If you put your hands together, D-Mob, I did one of the tracks with them. And you'll find me there at 20-something years young, and yeah, busting moves and rap and singing.
Y'all going some things.
Music at the time. So yeah, that's on Top of the Pops. So I've been doing into the creative field from, my gosh, since I was 19. I used to work at Zomba Record Company, and as a songwriter, and also, you know, vocals and so forth. And I left that, and then I ended up getting my own deal. I got my own record deal back in 1990 with Warner Brothers, and I was to do a concept album. But at that time, now, you know, these people, you know, they try to control your creativity. I think, you know, everyone who knows about music and the record industry, you know, they've experienced that control of your creativity. So I couldn't compromise myself. So after I did a couple tracks that did very well, I had to walk away from it because they were controlling my stuff and having my stuff in the, because I had EMI publishing and the record deal with Warner Brothers. So I've experienced